Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is story about what if Naruto is Yoruichi brother part 1. Before I start, please do support for more amazing content and comments for part 2. Do consider to subscribe my channel and share my video to your friends and check out the description as well. Let's start the video. 100 years ago, Urahara Kisuke and Shihoin Yoruichi made a mistake. Of course, we all know who Shihoin Yoruichi and Urahara Kisuke were. Yoruichi was the captain of the 2nd Division in the Godiaiju Sentai. She was also the leader of the Onitsukido. Urahara Kisuke was her third seat, captain of the detention unit. The two of them were childhood friends, perhaps even more. But she was nobility, the 22nd head of the Shihoin clan, one of the 4 noble clans in Suriidai. Any union between the two of them would have been forbidden. But they made a mistake. And that mistake was the consequence of one drunken night between the two. It went something like this. 100 years ago, Shihoin Complex, Suriidai. 8:47 p.m. Urahara Kisuke's promotion party. Kisuke. Congratulations, man. I knew you could do it. The captain of the 5th Division, Hirako Shinji, exclaimed as he clapped said man on the back. Both men were sitting in the bar. Kisuke stumbled slightly. Arigato, Hirako-san. But it was really all thanks to Yoruichi-san that I'm at this position today. Shinji grumbled. How many times do I have to tell you, drop the goddamn Hirako-san business and call me Shinji? Formalities suck. Ah, Gomen Hirako-san. You bastard. Urahara Kisuke had just passed his captain proficiency test and become the newest captain of the 12th Division. His best friend, Shihoin Yoruichi, had decided that she would throw a large party for him and invite all of the captains and vice-captains to it. Now they might not have known Kisuke very well, but he was rumored to be a genius among geniuses. Everyone had high aspirations for the man. Plus it didn't hurt that he was recommended by the head of the Shihoin clan herself. Speaking of said purple-haired, devastatingly beautiful woman, she was making her way to him at the very moment, much to the dismay of her loyal subordinate Soifan, who had tried to engage her master in conversation. Soifan was heavily against Kisuke's promotion, calling him lazy and unworthy of such an honor. Suffice to say, she was effectively shut down when he had passed with flying colors. Yoruichi reached the bar and took a seat next to her longtime friend. Yo, Kisuke. Congratulations, man, she said in her classic drawl that never failed to draw shivers from Kisuke. Before he could say anything, though, he was tackled to the ground with tremendous force. Nanny! Kisuke yelled. Arg. His head hurt now. Kayasuke-ki, the person who tackled him, cried. Baka Oyaji, get off Kisuke-ji-san right now! Another, more chibi and feminine sounding voice shouted. At that moment, Kisuke knew who was on top of him. His longtime friend Kurosaki Isshin had arrived in style. Yoruichi and Shinji sighed. No matter how old he got, Isshin never changed. One would that getting married and having 3 children would change you, but no, the man had the maturity of a fetus. Except of course when he was fighting. He would miraculously transform from a pathetic person to incredible Shinigami. There was a reason why he was the captain of the 3rd Division. Kisuke and him were like brothers in a sense, and Isshin was Kisuke's closest friend after Yoruichi. Kisuke got to his feet slightly unsteadily and looked at the man who had greeted him so well. Isshin's perpetual smile was plastered on his face. His hair was once again slicked up in that fashion that he liked so much. He was still wearing his captain's Haori and Shinigami outfit. Kisuke also glanced at the 3 behind him as well. Kurosaki Karen, the girl who had told her father off for knocking Kisuke over. She was a fiery-tempered one. No doubt getting that from her father. She packed a mean punch as well, along with her aptitude for Kido spells. Without a doubt, in 10 years or so she would make a fine Shinigami. Kurosaki Yuzu, the level-headed one. Her appearance and personality was near identical to that of Masaki's. She was sweet and practical, and most likely the one who held everything together in the family. She was also an excellent healer, and was already a candidate for vice-captain under Unohana Resta's 4th Division. And finally Kurosaki Ichigo. The boy was a gift to the Shinigami world. He had the Ryatsu of a captain when he was just 3 years old, and that was about 150 years ago. He was a natural, even if he didn't admit it. His Zanpakuto Tensai Zangetsu was the complement to his father's Zenjutsu. It was for that reason that he was the vice-captain to his father. The legendary father-son pair was known throughout the world. Yo, Kisuke-ji. Congratulations. You've put this off for a long time now, you know. Ichigo told his surrogate uncle. Ma Ichigo. I have no idea what you mean, Kisuke said with his head in the air, refusing to meet the younger man's gaze. Ichigo's right, Kisuke. Don't fuck with us. You could have become captain 100 years ago when Kuchiki Taicho retired. But you were too lazy to do so. Yoruichi deadpanned. Well, sorry. He gave a nervous chuckle and rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. Everyone sighed once again. Well, there's no point on dwelling in the past, is there now? So for those of us who are old enough to drink, let's raise our glasses to the newest captain, Urahara Kisuke. Shinji yelled. Somehow his voice carried throughout the room and everyone raised their glasses to the man. Kisuke had a small blush on his pale face. What an adorable guy! 3 hours later, all the celebrations had ended. The Shihoin complex was in the process of being cleaned by Yoruichi's private army. Sometimes it comes in handy to have ninjas at your disposal, right? The last ones to leave were the Kurosakis and Shinji. This was partially because the two of them, Isshin and Shinji, had gotten drunk and passed out on the floor, so they had to be hauled out by a very pissed-off Ichigo and Karen. Now it was just Yoruichi and Kisuke along with Soifan left in the room where the party had been thrown. Yoruichi-sama. What are your orders for me? Soifan asked, getting down on one knee. Nanny? You're still here? Just rest tonight, and report to me tomorrow morning at 9, Yoruichi said. The sake that she had drunk had gotten to her, judging by the sway to her step and the slur to her voice. Hi. And with that, she disappeared. Yoruichi-san, I don't think I properly thanked you for this lovely evening. I really don't know how to make it up to you, Kisuke said as humbly as he possibly could while being tipsy, though he was much more sober than Yoruichi. His head was bent low as a sign of gratitude. Kisuke, you know that you don't have to thank me for anything. I'm your best friend and you're mine. It's what friends do for each other, you know. And also, enough with the stupid formalities. I swear, if you call me Yoruichi-san one more time, I'm gonna castrate you, Kisuke. She ended her threat with a growl which caused Kisuke to cower in fright. She was drunk right now, and that amplified her rage. He knew firsthand what happened when she got angry. The Kuchiki manor still had the burn marks to prove it. After that, Kuchiki Byakuya learned never to piss Yoruichi off again. Hi. Sorry, Yoruichi, it's an old habit. He apologized. She grumbled and turned away. When she spoke again, her voice had lost some of the slur and become softer. You never change, you know. I've known you for 450 years now. Other than the fact that we're now equals, you're still the kid who I used to spend every waking moment with. Kisuke chuckled. Yoruichi, you're the head of the Shihoin clan. I'm just the ward that the clan took in. I don't that classifies us as equals. Baka. Who cares that I'm the head of the clan? You're a captain and I'm a captain. TCH. That's what I meant by equals, moron. And you're supposed to be the genius. By this time she was pretty much up in his face. Her golden eyes glinted in the dim light. She looked feral, and Kisuke, though loath to admit it, liked it a lot. Kisuke's bangs covered his eyes. Thanks again, Yoruichi. He leaned over and kissed her on the cheek gently. I think I'll retire for the night. She blinked a few times before a devious smile that he couldn't see. Yoruichi linked one of arms through Kisuke's. The action surprised him a bit. Come on, Kisuke, don't be so shy. Our rooms are only 3 doors apart. We'll walk together like the old days. Plus you're a nice person to lean on. At that comment, he probably never had more color in his face, and it wasn't from the sake either. She was pushing up against him, and feeling her assets, which were very well endowed, was making him feel uncomfortable. The walk their rooms was done in silence. Yoruichi still held onto his arm in a vice-like grip. They abruptly stopped in front of her room. An awkward silence ensued. They didn't really know what to say to each other. Finally, Kisuke broke it. Good night, Yoruichi-chan, Kisuke said. He really didn't want the night to end. After all, with a beautiful woman hanging off your arm, who would want the night to draw to a close? That nickname, you haven't called me that since we were kids, she reminisced. It brought back such nice memories of when they were just Kisuke and Yoruichi, with no one around to tell them what to do. Well, I'm sure that the elders of the clan didn't want me to call you that name when you ascended them. He grinned. She scoffed. Well, those old farts are dead now, aren't they? Most of them anyway. They were such power-hungry fools. Like when they accepted you into the clan, the reason they gave was you were the son of some guy who my father was friends with when they were younger. According to them, it was only proper that you were cared for because any friend of the clan leader was like family. Bullshit. I'm sure that your dad did not want you to end up in this dump. Sure, the Urahara family was pretty well known, but the real reason that you were adopted was because you had tremendous talent that they didn't want it to fall in the wrong hands. Kisuke was silent. He didn't know the real reason why he became part of the clan, without actually being in it. Whatever their reasoning, I'm glad that I met you, Yoruichi. Kisuke said quietly. He leaned into her touch and reveled in her natural warmth. Now Yoruichi was a strong woman, a very strong woman. But when Kisuke said that, all of her barriers came crashing down. It's funny what a single sentence can do. She had made her decision. It was what they had been denying each other for nearly 350 years. Kisuke, stay with me tonight. The words left her mouth before she registered what she actually said. Eh? Was his only logical response. Did she really say what he thought she said? Was she serious? Yoruichi managed to fight down the enormous blush that was threatening to creep up her neck. Newfound courage along with a few other emotions blossomed within her. I meant it, Kisuke. Just this once, please. Kisuke wasn't sure if this was the sake talking, or if she genuinely wanted him. Yoruichi, I don't know what you're asking for, but if I think I know what it is, then you are asking too much from me. I don't know whether or not he was cut off by a warm mouth pressed against his own. All coherent thought was effectively lost. Yoruichi pulled away when she started to feel out of breath. Kisuke, she whispered in his ear. It sent shivers down his spine. Please. Tonight, it's just you and me, not the head of the Shihoin clan and the 12th captain. Tonight we're just a man and a woman, keeping one another company. We both want this, need this. It's all I ask of you. He was in a dilemma. Should he or shouldn't he? Being the genius he was, he weighed the pros and cons inside his head. On the pro side, he would fulfill a lifelong dream and become one with the one he loved. On the con side, there would be repercussions to face. Like, what would their relationship be now? Would society accept them? And so on. Kisuke groaned as she nipped playfully at his ear, slowly backing him into her door. She kicked it open and they both stumbled back onto her four-poster bed. Aha. That was Kisuke's answer. Screw the repercussions. You have to live in the present. Take each moment in, don't let it go to waste. So when he was lying flat on his back in her bed, he was ready when she pounced on him. At that moment, she looked like a jungle cat with her purple hair framing her angular feline face. The golden eyes that he loved so much drank in his body. Yoruichi couldn't believe what she was doing. Just moments ago, she had literally ripped Kisuke's robes off of his body, and now she was running her hands over his lean body, causing goosebumps to erupt all over him. Those robes that he wore really masked the absolutely godly body that he had. Wow. Just wow. That was all she could say. He had muscles everywhere, but not the overly exaggerated ones, they were subtle. How did he hide that under those robes? Oh, now he was pulling off the sleeveless robe that she wore, causing her core to heat up. She was naked now, but didn't seem to notice. Kisuke just sat there for a few minutes as Yoruichi pulled his boxers off. They had pictures of cats on them. Weird. Yoruichi, are you sure? He cursed himself for even asking the question. He had a raging hard-on, was naked, and had the most beautiful woman in the world underneath him, and he asked her if she was sure? Baka. I'm the one who initiated this, right? Of course I want it. She chastised him. Hurry up, Kisuke, I've been waiting all of my life for this. Sorry, darling. But tonight, I intend to take it nice and slow, Kisuke said huskily. He kissed her with all the passion he could muster up and was rewarded by her breathy moan. And with that, the doors to her chambers slammed shut. Just for one night, the two lovers joined as one entity. And this one night would reshape the foundation of Suriidii forever. 9 months later. Push, Yoruichi. Come on. I know that you can do it. Unohana captain of the 4th Division, encouraged her longtime friend. 6 months ago, Yoruichi had come to her after she had missed 2 of her periods and constantly vomited after drinking milk. It was then that she knew something was wrong. Retsu had confirmed that Yoruichi was pregnant, and 3 months along. When she asked who the father was, Yoruichi had very hesitantly admitted that it was Kisuke. Retsu was shocked, but never showed it. For years it had been speculated that the Shihoin heir and her loyal companion were more than friends, and they were the subject of outrageous rumors. But never had she thought it to be true, till now, that is. When she asked Yoruichi if she would tell Kisuke, Yoruichi had adamantly declined, saying that it would be the best for both of them. His career had just kicked off and she didn't want to jeopardize it with springing a child on him. Plus he would be looked down upon by 2 of the 4 noble clans. The Shiba clan wouldn't really care. Retsu thought that Yoruichi was underestimating Kisuke, but didn't say anything. For 6 months, Yoruichi had been in and out of Suriidii, masking her pregnancy until this moment now. The only ones who knew were her, Retsu, and Shiba Kokaku. Damn it, Retsu! I can't push anymore. It hurts too damn much. If I knew I would get pregnant from one night, I never would have made Kisuke sleep with me. Well, the things pregnant women say sometimes. Retsa filed away that bit for the future. You never know when it may come in handy after all. She was holding on to the bed panels with a very firm grip. So firm that it was causing the metal to bend under her touch. Yoruichi, crowning is taking place. Just one more big push. Yoruichi panted. That's it. Okay, I lied. Now I need one more big push. Hurry and then the pain will be over. Retsa said, her face devoid of emotion even in such a stressful situation. Damn you! Yoruichi growled. And damn Kasuk to hell and back. Yoruichi pushed. She felt as if though she was being ripped apart fiber by fiber. The burn just wouldn't go away. Then all of a sudden, WHA! Waha! Yoruichi let out a hysterical chuckle as she fell back on the bed completely drained. Retsu gently cleansed the baby with water and cut the umbilical cord. Congratulations, Yoruichi, it's a boy. Retsu told her longtime friend softly. A boy. I have a baby boy. Please let me hold him. Yoruichi pleaded. She had done it. She had given birth to a child. Retsu gently placed the wailing baby into his mother's arms and he quieted down immediately. Yoruichi gasped at the sight of him. He was beautiful. His tiny head was covered in a shock of blonde hair. His skin was tan, but not like Yoruichi's. It was a blend between the two, giving him a slightly exotic tint. And were those whisker marks on his face? Hesitantly, Yoruichi touched them lightly. The baby gave off a small purr of contentment. Oh yes, that was definitely the cat side of her coming out in him. Amazing. Slowly, the baby opened his eyes. Blue and gray. That was what she saw. Kisuk's eyes were reflected back at her. Those same piercing eyes that she fell in love with were her baby's eyes now. Those eyes stared back at her with curiosity. Oh, he's perfect, she crooned. What are you going to call him? Retsu asked. Yoruichi stared into the depths of her son's eyes. The blue and gray meshed together so well. It reminded her of how the sky looked on a stormy day. The name came to her just like that. Naruto. His name will be Naruto the Maelstrom. Unohana Retsu gave off the rare smile she reserved for the most private of moments. It's perfect for him. I know, and I'm so sorry that I have to leave him, Yoruichi admitted sadly. Retsu stared at her friend wide-eyed. Yoruichi, you can't possibly do that, she nearly yelled. Her stoic personality was gone. Said woman gave her a small smile while stroking her son's golden locks. How can I claim him right now, Retsu? I don't give a damn what people would say about me, but they will talk about him. He will be the bastard child. I can't let him go through that. I know that a day will come where the entire world will know his name, and I will be there as his mother, and Kasuk as his father. But that day has not arrived yet. Don't worry, I have arranged for him to stay with friends of mine in the real world. But you and Kasuk could get married, wouldn't that solve all the problems? You pick who you want as your husband? Retsu demanded. She didn't want her friend's child to grow up not knowing who his parents were. Unfortunately, it won't. Trust me, even if most of the clan elders are dead, the ones remaining will oppose any union between Kasuk and myself, saying that he doesn't have the same royal lineage as myself. Bullshit. He's the cousin of Kakaku once removed or something like that. Since Kakaku is of the Shiba clan and Kasuk is related to her, I say that more or less qualifies him as royalty. Yoruichi scowled, which made her baby smile a toothless, adorable smile at her. Any negative emotions melted in Yoruichi as Naruto raised a chubby hand up to grab one of Yoruichi's damp purple locks. Retsu may have delivered thousands of babies in her lifetime, but she had never actually seen the bond between mother and child being formed. The two in question were oblivious that their ryatsus were mingling together, creating a near-invisible chain binding the two together. No matter where they went, they would be mother and son. Yoruichi Retsu started seriously. Yoruichi turned to look at Unohana. You do realize that if he's going to be in the real world, he won't age like they do there. He'll age like we do. Yoruichi, you are 448 years old. For us, 1 year of aging equates to 7 human years, although our years and their years have the same number of days. Which means that in human years, you are actually 3,136 physical years old. This could pose several problems. Like I said, I have it all covered. The people that I'm leaving him with, you know them as well, Yoruichi assured her. This surprised Retsu. Oh, and who are they? Samuja Yururu and Hankari Jinta. Those two, Retsu gasped. But they were dead. Yoruichi laughed. Dead? Ha! That's an excellent joke. No, they've been in the real world for 2 years now. But weren't they weren't they in Kasuke's command in the detention unit? Retsu asked. Yes, but some circumstances forced them to retire to the human world. Yoruichi replied. Circumstances? Wait, was she pregnant too? Wahahaha. No. Absolutely not. Let's just say that they pissed off a couple people in Soul Society, and those people wanted them dead. So I, as their captain, faked their deaths and made sure they were securely hidden in the human world. Naruto will be perfectly safe with them. I'd already informed them 3 months ago that they will be raising my child in secrecy. They are also Shinigami, and they know the dangers of the whole aging thing. After all, after like 50 years they only look like they've aged 7 years, people will tend to notice. Retsu still wasn't too sure about the whole thing. But Naruto, when will you take him back? Yoruichi sighed. When the time is right, and clan politics will not stop me from claiming my own son and heir to the clan. And Kasuke, when will you tell him? Retsu pressed on. I will soon, I promise. Retsu wasn't so sure that she would though. She knew how Yoruichi was. Although she had a tough facade on the outside, she was very soft on the inside. Yoruichi would be afraid of how Kasuke would take being a father. Delaying it won't stop the inevitable, you know, Retsu said softly. I know, just not now, okay? Yoruichi's voice cracked. Hi. Naruto's renewed wailing drew them both from their thoughts. Era, it looks like Naruto-chan's hungry now, isn't he? Yoruichi, it's time to feed him now. Yoruichi sighed and pulled down her robe to let her gurgling cherub suckle her. It would be very painful to not see this angelic face for so long. 5 months later, real world. Don't worry, Taicho, we will look after him like he was our little brother, Jinta called out to Yoruichi. Taicho, please visit him often if you can. And with me and Jinta around, nothing will happen to young Naruto-chan. We promise. Yururu added while holding a sleeping Naruto. Yoruichi had opened the Senkamen without the watchful eye of Tsurugi on her to deliver Naruto to Jinta and Yururu. Kakaku and Retsu were right by her side. Please love him for me and don't tell him who his parents were. In due time he will find out, she begged through tearful eyes. Taicho, he will be our most important person. Believe it, Jinta cried. The Senkamen was closing, and the 3 inhabitants of Tsurugi had to return to Soul Society immediately. Yoruichi, hurry! Kakaku shouted. Hurriedly, Yoruichi gave one last kiss to Naruto's forehead and left a pendant around his neck. It was the emblem of the Shihoin clan. My son, we will meet again soon. This I promise you. She reached the Senkamen just in time and turned to see her 2 former subordinates waving to her. She took one last glance at Naruto's face before the Senkamen closed. Tears silently rolled down her face. I'm so sorry, Naruto. Forgive my selfishness. Jinta and Yururu watched the portal close. At that moment Naruto opened his eyes and stared at the 2 new people above him. His eyes surprised the ex-Shinigami. Blue and gray, what an unusual combination. Naruto, eh? Jinta said as storm clouds gathered above. I wonder if you truly can become what your name is. Maelstrom. Naruto grabbed onto one of Jinta's fingers and sucked on it contently. Yururu chuckled. You will be strong one day, Naruto. Only time will tell how much. The baby's eyes closed once more, and he fell into a deep sleep. Jinta and Yururu walked back quietly to their humble home on the outskirts of a village called Konohagakure. The Maelstrom was sleeping for now, but one thing was for sure, he was going to be one hell of a Shinigami one day. 50 years later. Naruto. Where are you? TCH. This kid is just too much. Naruto. It's dinner time and Yururu will get mad if you don't show up on time, Jinta yelled, scouring the place for his elusive ward/brother. For the past 50 years, they had lived in seclusion from the outside world, only going out to buy supplies. The 3 of them had no use for Gigace. Partially because Kasuke hadn't invented them yet. The people could see them just fine unless they truly wanted to hide themselves. It was all a matter of masking their reactions, Naruto included. The village that was 2 miles from their home was known as Konohagakure or Konoha for short. In the past 50 years, it had changed as well. Apparently, it was now a shinobi or ninja village. Before, only a couple hundred people had settled it, coming from some land 200 miles from here. They called themselves the Senju. The humans had found they had this power called chakra, and if they harnessed it correctly, it would be extremely powerful. Not all the humans could use it though, only those who had unlocked their chakra could. In a way, chakra and Ryatsu were similar, but Ryatsu combines spiritual and physical energy, kind of, while chakra was only physical. Naruto had never gone into the village, but he had seen some of the ninja from afar. Some had on green flak jackets with a spiral on the back. No matter what outfit they wore though, all the ninja had on a metal plate with a weird engraving attached to a headband wrapped around some part of their body. Naruto thought it was a defining symbol of some sort. "Yurura! Have you seen Naruto?" Jinta shouted to her. "Check out back, he might be there," she yelled back. Jinta went out to the backyard. It was relatively large, with a decent amount of space for sparring and such. And there, in the left corner, under a sakura tree sat a small boy who looked no older than 7. His long golden bangs covered his eyes. In his lap was the spirit of a bunny rabbit. Naruto stroked the rabbit's fur as best he could. But it was rather hard when his hand went through the rabbit. However, the boy seemed rather content to have the ghost of a rabbit on his lap. "Naruto! Man, didn't you hear how many times I called you?" Jinta asked the boy in exasperation, walking over to him. He saw the rabbit and inwardly smiled. Said boy looked up from whatever he was doing. "I did hear you, but I knew you were going to come here anyway, so what was the point of leaving before I had to?" His voice was soft, with a hint of playfulness. It was almost identical to Kisuke's. Jinta sighed. How could he be so lazy and not care? Of course. The answer was because his father was Urahara Kisuke, the laziest captain in the Goteijo Sentai history. Well, anyway, Yurura's got dinner on the table. It's best not to keep her waiting, you know. Naruto slowly stood up and dusted himself off. The bunny jumped off of him and disappeared in a flash of particles. Naruto watched the bunny vanish with longing eyes. Hi. Yurura Nei-chan gets very cranky when we're late. Let's go. Jinta sweat dropped as they walked back into the house. She gets mad when you're late, Naruto, not me. But then again, I'm always trying to find you and we both end up being late. The kitchen table was set with beef stew and onigiri. An odd combination, but they enjoyed it. Naruto, how many times do I have to tell you to come to the dinner table on time? Yurura admonished the boy. Naruto had the decency to scratch his head and look sheepishly at her. Gomen. But I was just playing with something and lost track of time, you know. Yurura's gaze softened. She ladled some stew out for everyone. Well, eat up. You're a growing boy and need nutritional food. I'm not really a boy though, right? I mean, we celebrated my 50th birthday last week, Naruto said, taking a bite of stew. Yururu and Jinta glanced at each other. Yes, well, compared to us, you're still a little boy, Jinta told him. Yeah, I know, Naruto grumbled. For a while, all was silent as the three ate peacefully. Aniki, Nei-chan, I've been thinking about some things. We, the three of us, we're not normal, are we? I mean, we can all see ghosts and things that normal humans can't see. Plus, we have the ability to completely hide ourselves from other people. It's like they think we're invisible, or something. The two in question stopped eating, surprised. Then they sighed. They knew that Naruto would ask this question sooner or later. You're right, Naruto, we're not. Mind telling me when you came up with this theory? Yurura asked the boy. About 25 years ago or so. Jinta gaped at him. Then why didn't you ask us 25 years ago? I didn't want to, was the boy's reply. Both of them facepalmed. Naruto. So we are normal, right? Are we human then? He asked. Yurura put down the spoon she was eating with. Naruto, we should have had this conversation with you a very long time ago. You see, Jinta and I, we are what humans call Shinigami. So no, we most certainly are not human. But for our race, we are normal. Naruto put on his thinking face. He really wasn't surprised that they weren't human. He had seen them do things that no human should be able to do, like walk in midair. It freaked him out at first, but it was damn cool. Shinigami soul reapers? So your race of people collect the souls of the dead? Exactly. About 52 or 53 years ago, we came down to Earth from a place called Suriidii because of some odd circumstances. You could say that we were running away from assured death. You see, we did something that might have pissed off a couple people, so we had to hide in the human world, Jinta said. What exactly did you do? Naruto asked curiously. Jinta and Yurura laughed nervously. We'll tell you when you're older, they replied. Naruto nodded and let the issue go. His blue-gray eyes narrowed as he thought a bit more. So what exactly am I then? He finally inquired. Yurura gazed fondly at the boy she had taken in as her brother. You are also a Shinigami, Naruto's head shot up and his eyes widened. Really? I mean, are you sure? He asked wildly. Jinta smiled at him. Oh yes, you definitely are a Shinigami. You remember me telling you when you were younger about Ryatsu? Well, it's what all Shinigamis and some non-Shinigamis have. Ryatsu is the spiritual energy that circulates through our bodies. It's why you and I and Yururu can all see ghosts. We have strong Ryatsus. In fact, your Ryatsu might be stronger than ours. Now Jinta knew that Naruto's Ryatsu was huge, but he didn't want to inflate the boy's ego, though said boy had absolutely none. It was mainly because his own pride would come crashing down because of a boy 250 years younger than him. Wait, so that means that my parents, whoever they are, they were also Shinigami because I was born as one? Jinta ruffled his hair. They are Shinigami, some of the best in fact. Are you said that they are Shinigami? That means that they aren't dead. So where are they? Naruto asked. His excitement with this topic was growing exponentially. Jinta cursed at the slip of his tongue. How could he explain it to the kid? Yoruichi Taicho had explicitly said not to tell Naruto who his parents were yet. He had to find it out on his own. Luckily, Yururu came to his rescue. Unfortunately, she knew that whatever she said would upset the boy. Naruto, 50 years ago, your mother came to us asking if we could take you in. Of course we agreed. She started tentatively. The boy's face fell. You could almost feel the Ryatsu building up in him. The Shihoin medallion around his neck seemed to glow. Naruto's bangs covered his face. Why? Why then did she not want me? Why did she leave me in the human world then? He asked in a small voice. His voice was quivering, and he was on the verge of tears. No. She wanted you so badly. It's just, she couldn't take you as her own. Yururu yelled. But why? Naruto shouted back. What happened? The vase on the table broke. Jinta and Yururu stared at it in shock. His Ryatsu was bursting out of him in small spurts. They had to calm him down. Naruto, your mother forbid us from telling you her identity, but you should know this much about her. She is a very important person in Tsuruitai. You can say that she's nobility. Any child of hers would be put through things that she didn't want you to go through. We're not just saying that because we want you to feel better. It's the absolute truth. If you had lived with her, you would have gone through so much pain, and she didn't want that to happen. She told us that when the time is right, she will claim you as her own. Now most likely that means in the future you will have to travel to Tsuruitai and find her. The medallion around your neck is her gift to you. We saw her place it there. Yururu said quietly. Tears ran down the boy's face. He had parents somewhere. They weren't even from this world. They weren't even human for Kami's sake. 50 years for 50 years he had been lied to. He took out the golden pendant with the weird symbol. He had had it as long as he could remember back to. So many thoughts were racing through the kid's head. His mother had wanted him, so what about his dad? And my father, what of him? Naruto asked in a subdued voice. He hadn't calmed down yet, but his Ryatsu had. Your dad didn't even know that you existed, Naruto. He probably still doesn't know. Jinta said softly. What? So my mother never even told him that she was pregnant? But that doesn't make any sense. Naruto cried. I know, and we all tried to tell her to tell your dad. But she's stubborn, and refused to do so. She really loves your dad, but is just too scared to say anything. Yururu said. Her heart went out to the boy. It was hard to take this all in, and she couldn't blame him for being frustrated. There was a long silence. Naruto dried his tears and went back to eating his soup. Jinta and Yururu shot each other nervous glances. Finally Naruto asked, my parents, can you give me a hint as to who they are? And can you also explain this Tsuruitai to me? Jinta placed a hand on his brother's shoulder. Of course we can. Now while your mother might have told you not to tell you her and your dad's names, we can tell you some things about them. Your father was once your mother's subordinate. I'll explain that later. But he was and still is ridiculously powerful, and ridiculously lazy too, Jinta added as an afterthought. Naruto grinned. So he had at least taken after his mysterious father in one way. Well, actually both, but he didn't know that yet. Your father is considered the smartest man to come out of Tsuruitai. He's the head of the Rishi. Jinta was cut off by Yururu smacking him on the head. Oh. What was that for? He winced at the growing bump on his head. That's too much information. With a little digging, Naruto could figure it out easily. Yururu retorted. What's wrong with him figuring it out? I mean, all Taicho told us was not to tell him their names, nothing more, nothing less. But still, for now that's enough about him. Fine, Jinta conceded. And my mother? Naruto pressed on. He was very intrigued by the father he never had. A genius, ridiculously strong, and the head of something. Ah well, your mother is more or less the same. She's helped me out here, Yururu, Jinta said. Your mother is, like we said, of nobility? Actually, your father is too, but not like your mom. All Yururu could think of was her Taisha's feline form. She's cat-like? Naruto looked at Yururu like she was insane. Really? Cat-like is the best you can come up with, Nachan. Well, I suppose that explains the whisker marks on my cheeks then. Yururu scowled at him. Well, she's also really strong too, strong, perhaps stronger than your dad, oh, and her temper, it's terrible. Her speed is what defines her. Other than that, if we told you anything else it would give it away. Naruto's sweat dropped at her explanation. Oh joy, his parents were exact opposites. How had they made him? How can it give it away when I don't know anything about this Suriidai place? Naruto muttered under his breath. He pictured his mom and dad. In his mind, his mom was this giant muscled cat thing that would lash out at you with your claws whenever she got mad. His dad was contradicting because they said that he was a genius, lazy, and incredibly strong. So Naruto didn't know whether to picture him with tons of muscles or picture him as a ratty little guy who wore grandmother glasses. The final pieces of information that we can give you is that both of your parents are captains. This narrows it down considerably. Your mom was our captain, in fact, Jinta concluded. Yururu rubbed her temples. That was the one piece of information she didn't want Naruto to know. The kid was a genius just like his parents. He'd figure it out. Naruto processed all the information he had just received through his head. So his parents were captains, whatever that meant. Interesting. Now to learn more about the place where he was born. So Suriidai, is it heaven or something? Well, no. Suriidai is in the middle of Soul Society. I guess that Soul Society can be considered heaven or nirvana if you will. It's where all departed souls go to. Suriidai is called the Court of Pure Souls for a reason. Only nobility or Shinigami live there. The new souls arrive in what we call Rakangai. It's divided into 320 districts, with 80 in each direction. They are numbered based on how far they are from the center, which is Suriidai. So District 1 would be the best and District 80 could be the slums. Now in Rakangai, you can't get hungry. You can die though, and if you die, then you get reincarnated as a human soul with no previous memories. People who die are rarely reunited with their families, so they form new ones. You can even have kids there, Jinta elaborated. Ah, I see now. It sounds terrible there. But that's besides the point. So before you said both my parents are captains, what exactly did you mean by that, Aniki? Jinta thought for a moment. Well, before I explain that to you, you should probably understand the breakdown of Soul Society. Soul Society is ruled by a king, who is known as the Spirit King. No Shinigami has ever seen the Spirit King though. He lives in the royal palace and is protected by the royal guard, which only the captains know about. We found out because we eavesdropped on Taicho once. The royal guard is comprised nearly of all ex-captains. They are known as Division 0. Next we have the noble houses. There are 4. Your mother is part of one of those 4. The lesser noble clans serve the 4. After them comes the 0 division again. Only the royal house presides over them. After them comes Central 46. They serve the Shinigami royalty. It's made up of 40 wise men and 6 judges. They have a set of laws that the Shinigami must follow, or they will give out the proper punishment, which is generally death or exile. No ruling of theirs can be overturned. But they have no say in what the royal guard does. He paused for a moment, letting Naruto take it all in. So after those people, then the Shinigami come in? Naruto inquired. Yes. They make up the military portion of Soul Society. It is divided into 3 independent main branches. They are the Kido Corps, Godai Jusantai, and the Amatsukido. The Godai 13 or the 13 Imperial Guards are the captains we were talking about before. They are in charge of different things. For example, the 4th Division is in charge of the medical care in Suriidai. The 9th Division is in charge of newspaper-related things. The Godai 13 probably has the most superiority over the other 2 branches. Not much is known about the other 2 branches. I can tell you that Sakabashi Tezai is the Grand Kido Master of Suriidai. They obviously excel in Kido. You remember what Kido is, right? Yururu asked him after her explanation ended. Kido, yes, it's that stuff that you guys do, right? Those spell thingies. With the Heido and Umbakudo? Naruto recalled. Yup. The way of destruction and the way of binding. We'll get you started on those soon, Jinta said enthusiastically, with a bit of sadism thrown in for good measure. When you had both Urahara Kasuke and Shihoin Yoruichi as your commanding officers, it was hard not to be a bit sadistic. Naruto shivered. Yururu didn't seem to notice. She continued on. The Amatsukido is the last division. They are known as the Stealth Force or Covert Ops. They are generally commanded by the noble family of Shihoin. Remember that. Naruto put his head down again. It was his thinking pose. Yururu and Jinta shot each other meaningful glances. After all, the boy in front of them would most likely be the next commander of the Amatsukido. Yoruichi Taicho would kill them if he wasn't trained properly. Besides collecting souls, the Shinigami do other things too, right? I mean, they are the military unit after all. Yes. They also protect the human world from monsters that are known as hollows. Hollows are human souls that have not crossed over to soul society yet, and they've stayed in the human world for too long. If a soul is not given a soul burial by a Shinigami, then they can also become a hollow. They are corrupt spirits with supernatural powers that devour the souls of both living and deceased humans. Shinigami fight them from killing innocents. But sometimes, if the hollow is strong enough, it can even kill a Shinigami. You'll probably see a hollow sometime in your life. We've shielded you from the ones that tried to come this way, Jinta said as he recalled the 15 hollows that had come their way over the past 50 years. Naruto's brain was working overtime. This was too much to take in for him. He was only 50 after all. There's more to these Shinigami, isn't there? I mean, they can't all just fight with Bakuto and Hado. They would be slaughtered. Naruto thought out loud. Jinta grinned. Oh yes, he had most definitely taken after his father. Oh, and what makes you say that? He asked innocently. Naruto looked directly at Jinta. His eyes danced in the dim light overhead and seemed to flash golden for a second. Well, from what I remember, Hado and Bakuto take a while to master fully. From what I've seen you do, it seems like most of them need incantations to cast. Now these incantations can be really long. What if a hollow got to you when you're saying an incantation? I mean, you might die. I'm pretty sure that hand-to-hand combat won't work too well against those things. So Shinigami must have something to direct their powers through, like a wand or something. If the two of them were surprised by their brother's thought process, they didn't show it. Close, but not quite. Yururu told the boy. Yes, we Shinigami do use devices to harness our power through. You can say that those devices are our souls, or our spiritual power incarnate. They are called Zanpakutos. We know our Zanpakuto spirits like they are ourselves. To train with them, we use a method called Jinzen to fully get to know them. Naruto was a bit befuddled. You make it seem as though they are alive. Because they are, Jinta told him. Naruto's eyes were wide open. How is that possible, though? Jinta chuckled. Naruto, your Zanpakuto is a part of you. You are alive, right? Then why isn't your sword? Naruto saw the logic behind this. It was still hard to believe, though. So when you and your Zanpakuto fight, it's like your partners. Precisely. Naruto, would you like to see a Zanpakuto? Yurura asked him. Seriously, I mean, would it be alright? He asked eagerly. Yurura smiled at his enthusiasm. Of course it's alright. Just give me a moment. She closed her eyes in concentration. Her and Jinta had asked Yoruichi to cast a spell to keep their swords locked up so as to not cause suspicion. Releasing the spell meant releasing a lot of Ryatsu. Naruto watched fascinated as Yururu Ryatsu spiraled around her. Her normal clothes were changing into some kind of black robe. At her hip, a sheath formed along with the sword. Yururu watched Naruto's face with amusement. This Naruto is my true form. When I am in this form, only those with a high amount of Ryatsu can see me. Wow! That's amazing. So this is what a Shinigami looks like. He examined Yururu from every angle. Yururu, take out your Zanpakuto now, Jinta told her. Hi. Slowly, she drew a blade from the sheath. It looked like a normal katana. The blade was about 3 feet long and a gray/black color. The hilt was crimson. There was nothing special about it. Yururu saw Naruto's disappointed expression. Naruto, a Zanpakuto has 3 forms. Its neutral state, its Shirkai state, and finally its Bankai state. This is my sword's neutral state. Now, I've only achieved Shirkai. To achieve Bankai, it takes tremendous talent and time. All captains have to have a Shirkai and Bankai. A sword is usually in its neutral form. There are a couple exceptions such as Kurosaki Ichigo and Zaraki Kenpachi. Ichigo-san's Zanpakuto is always in its Shirkai form. He is a vice captain. Kenpachi-san is a whole different story. He has no Bankai or Shirkai. He hasn't even learned his sword's name yet. Kenpachi-san is the captain of the 11th division. The reason why he is a captain is because he has immense powers. His sword is always in its final form. She saw comprehension dawn on Naruto's face. So, can you show me your Shirkai state? He asked. Sure, why not? Now watch carefully. Each Zanpakuto awakens into its Shirkai state differently. Naruto's eyes were glued onto the sword. Kagayaku, Mikazuki, shine, crescent moon, the blade shimmered, and the area surrounding it vibrated. Naruto watched in fascination as the blade changed into its namesake. The hilt changed the same, but the blade curved inward to create a hook-like shape. The tip glinted in the moonlight. It was beautiful. So, what do you think? Sugane-san. That's amazing! Naruto yelled. He tried to touch the blade, but it snapped away from him. Why'd it do that? Not at Naruto, she. My blade is a she. And she doesn't like being touched by anyone but me. We weren't lying when we said that Zanpakutos had a mind of their own. The efficiency to use the blade depends on the connection between the wielder and the sword. The more in sync you are with each other, the more power the blade exerts. So remember, never insult your Zanpakuto, otherwise he/she won't be there when you need them to be. Ururu told him. Naruto looked abashed and mentally tucked that information into the back of his mind. So, when can I get mine? Ururu and Jinta burst into laughter. When the time is right, Naruto, when the time is right. Naruto pouted and crossed his arms. Fine. He huffed. At that moment he looked so childlike. After a few moments, he also burst into laughter. It felt nice. Naruto was usually a boy who kept his emotions to himself. No one really ever knew what he was thinking because he was so guarded. His laughter stopped abruptly. Nei-san and Ai-san, he began seriously. They looked at him expectantly. Whoever my parents are, I promise, one day I will find them, and then the five of us will live together as a family. I'm going to make them proud of me and become a Shinigami. One day, we will all fight together. His eyes took on a hard edge of determination. The two older Shinigami stared at the boy in front of them. Naruto, the five of us? Jinta trailed off. Well, yeah. I mean, I've known since day one that you're not my real brother and sister. Our hair coloring is all wrong for one thing. But no matter what's happened in the past 50 years, you've always been there for me like a real brother and sister. So as far as I'm concerned, you are family. The both of you were trusted enough by my mother that she left me with you. You said that she was your captain, and at one point, my dad was my mom's subordinate. That means that you're acquainted with him too. So I know that a time will come where we will all live together as a family, he said resolutely. His eyes glinted that weird mix between gray and golden again. Jinta and Ururu were speechless. What else would they be? Ururu stood up and moved towards Naruto. She embraced him with all of the emotion she could muster. Naruto, thank you. That's all I can say. She had tears in her eyes. Naruto grinned sheepishly and petted her head awkwardly. Hey, family sticks together after all. Jinta, who had just stood there, grabbed both Ururu and Naruto in a bear hug and twirled them around. If anyone would have seen them right now, they would have said that this was a true family. Soul Society, the same time. It's been 50 years, Yoruichi, you still haven't told him yet. Retsu scolded her friend. The three of them, Yoruichi, Kakaku and Retsu, were in the Shihoin complex late on Saturday evening, enjoying their lazy time. I know, Retsu, I just don't know how to approach him on this subject at all. I mean, you try explaining to your best friend that the one night you had together 51 years ago produced a child that I had to give up just so he would be protected from those in Soul Society. Yoruichi growled at her. This wouldn't have happened if you had just told him right there, and then, Yoru, and you know this. Kakaku shouted at her longtime friend. You can't keep this a secret much longer. You have a son in the real world and heir to your clan. And that's the exact reason why I have to keep it a secret, damn it. Yoruichi's temper got the better of her. She stood up, knocking over a cup of sake, not that she noticed. Tell me, what would they do if they found out that I had an illegitimate son? She asked, her voice softer now. Kakaku and Retsu thought for a moment. They would use my own son against me. They would make him do things, send him out on suicide missions, saying that I would be in danger if he didn't. Yoruichi said in a whisper when the other two couldn't think of anything. Her friend's eyes widened. They wouldn't, Retsu started, but Kakaku cut her off. The blood of the Shihoin would be tainted with the blood of those of lesser nobility, they would say. Yoruichi stated with a mirthless laugh. My own son and Kisuke's. But those bastards are dead, the elders, that is. Kakaku argued. Not the important ones, though. Yoruichi retorted. They still make my life hell today, telling me to marry a Kuchiki or someone like that. Hell, did you know that they had almost arranged my marriage to Kaien? Kakaku choked on the oolong tea she was sipping. Then she burst into hysterical laughter. Oh, that would have been great. Having you as my sister-in-law. She then put on a serious thinking face. But then again, you and him would have made a terrible match. He's too much like you. Nope, you two are the brother-sister type, she concluded. Yoruichi gave her a funny look. Yeah, and that's why I refused the marriage. Her tone softened again. There will only be one person for me in the world, and that's Kisuke. Retsu smirked, and it looked very out of place on her neutral face. Then tell him that. Listen, it's fine if you keep Naruto a secret from Soul Society, but don't keep it a secret from Kisuke. No matter what problems you'll eventually face in the future, tell him everything. Starting with Naruto. He's powerful, more powerful than you give him credit for. He can easily overcome whatever is thrown his way. If you love him, then have that much faith in him. Retsu watched as her friend was silent for several minutes. The emotions that were so well hidden from the outside world were spread all over her face right now. She knew that Yoruichi was having an internal battle with herself. Should she or shouldn't she? That was the question. After much contemplation, Yoruichi gave her friend her typical half grin. Perhaps it wouldn't be so bad telling Kisuke. He deserved to know about their son more than any other person in this world. And then there was Naruto, her son. For the past 50 years, she had observed the boy as carefully as she could. She would visit when she was sure that he was not awake and just sit there talking with Jinta and Yurura. Just last week, she had discreetly gone down to the human world and given her boy a big kiss on the forehead while he was sleeping. He was handsome, and looked almost exactly like Kisuke. Even if Kisuke didn't know he had a son, the second he laid eyes on Naruto he would know who the boy was to him and who the mother was too. It was now or never. Kisuke would be told. No exceptions. Yash. I've decided. Tonight I will tell him everything. No matter what the consequences are, he has to know. I don't care if he doesn't love me, or if he's lost all faith in me. It just has to be done, Yoruichi exclaimed. Both the other occupants in the room chuckled. Well, it had only taken her 50 years to get this far. Now the next step would be reunite the happy family. But judging by the way things went until this point, it would probably take another 50 years till that happened. Kakaku put down her tea and stood up. Well then, Yoru, I sincerely wish you the best of luck. Yoruichi smiled when Kakaku put a reassuring hand on her shoulder. Retsu also gently patted Yoruichi's hand, and then exited the room. Yoru, Kakaku said. Nani? Just a word of caution. Kisuke is one to never let true emotion play out on his face, but this one time, he might. All I want you to do is let him vent, because trust me, he will. He's family, Yoru, and so are you. So please be honest with him. Kakaku sighed and ran a hand through her raven hair. Yoruichi studied her for some time before finally saying, I know. I don't want to hurt him any more than I already have. I promise. That's all I wanted to know. With a last glance at Yoruichi, Kakaku left the room, leaving Yoruichi all alone. When she felt Kakaku's Ryatsu completely vanish from her complex, she flopped down on her bed, seemingly exhausted. How would she actually break the news to him? Seduce him and then tell him? Look where that got her last time. Kisuke, when we had that one night 51 years ago, I had a son and he's yours. That was most likely the corniest thing she had heard in her entire life. Kisuke, we have a son who I had to send to the human world to live with two of our former supposedly dead subordinates. Yes, that might work. Ah, fuck it. She would improvise, it was what she did best after all. With that mentality in mind, she got up off of her bed and stomped out the door to find the father of her child. Urahara Kisuke was not having a good day. He had been bombarded with paperwork from his vice captain Hiyori. If it was one thing he hated in his life, it was paperwork. It didn't help that Mayuri had intentionally blown up 2 of his research labs in the past week simply because he was bored. Maybe he should have kept the man, was he even a man, locked up. Now seeing how he was so down, 2 of his good friends Kairaku Shinsui and Yukitake Jishiro had taken him out to enjoy a nice evening in the best bar in Seoul society. Indeed, the White Lotus had been serving customers since its conception about 700 years ago. In fact, it was Yamamoto himself who had recommended the bar to them. The White Lotus was located in the 3rd district of Rukongai, but that didn't deter captains like Byakuya or Yoruichi, both of whom were from noble clans, from frequenting it. Oi Kisuke! Come on, man! Live a little, look alive! Shinsui said in his easygoing voice that was slightly slurred now. Yukitake clapped him on the back. You only had 2 cups of sake? Kisuke, everyone knows that out of all the captains, it's you who can hold liquor down the best. Here, have some more, he exclaimed, pouring himself and Kisuke a cup more. Kisuke sighed. Why had he let them talk him into this? He really didn't understand himself. This wasn't really making him feel any better. The bartender, who was new, looked at the man in pity. He looked like he needed some fun. Hey, Taisha-san. There are some really nice people out back that you might want to meet, you know it's all to have fun. The teasing tone in the bartender's voice did not go unnoticed by Kisuke. So even respectable bars like this one had that side to them. No thanks, sir. I've got a pretty nice person waiting back for me at home, Kisuke replied in a playful voice. Suit yourself, sir, the bartender said, moving to the next customers. Kisuke, you should have taken that nice offer. Just let it all out sometimes. Shinsui boomed. Where was Nanao-chan when you needed her? Yukitake had some more common sense. Now Shinsui, Kisuke isn't that type of man. He's more of the one-woman kind of person, right? Said man's face heated up a bit, not that you could tell though. Of course he was a one-woman man. It's just that the woman had to become his first. Shinsui scoffed. Jushiro, for Kisuke to be a one-woman man he would have had to have been with a woman first. I'm sure he has, Shinsui. We don't tell anyone about our personal lives, you know. Yukitake reasoned. This was getting a bit uncomfortable. Kisuke was sandwiched between two semi-drunk/drunk men who were still discussing his sex life in the middle of a prominent bar where tons of people came. They were highly respected captains, these three, and unnecessary rumors were not in their best interest. Kisuke would have to stop their nonsense, and fast. Thankfully, luck seemed to be on his side just for 1 minute. Ah, Kisuke, so this is where you were. I've been looking for you. A voice directly behind them said. Praise the lords, Kisuke thought. The other two captains swiveled around to see the captain of the 2nd Division standing with her hands crossed under her ample chest, staring at them intently. Her purple hair contrasted drastically with the simple white dress she was wearing. Yoruichi-san, what a pleasant surprise. Kisuke smiled. She looked breathtaking, according to him. She smirked at him. Cut the formalities, Kisuke, you know I hate them. Come with me, there's something important that I need to talk to you about. He sighed. Well, there's no use in arguing with you now, so shall we? She shot a devastating grin at him that caused his face to heat up more. Kisuke stood up and held out his arm for her. She linked it with his and they set off. He couldn't help but notice how all the male, and some female eyes never left Yoruichi's figure. Kisuke felt a pang of jealousy run through him. He couldn't stop those glances or the cat calls. After all, he wasn't anything more to her than her best friend. He had no claim over her. The bartender whistled. He wasn't lying when he said he had a pretty nice person waiting for him at home. In fact, that's a damn fine person, well, her backside, that is. That is the captain for the 2nd Division. Jushiro deadpanned. The bartender paled. If one thing was known about Shihoin Yoruichi, it was that she would annihilate anyone who said one comment about her figure. Nah, Shinsui, you don't think that, Kisuke and Yoruichi? I don't know, Jushiro, they've been together for so long that it's certainly possible. There's a reason that Kisuke is so secretive, and this might be it. Yoruichi led Kisuke back to their complex. They sat together in Kisuke's room. Okay, Yoruichi, what did you want to talk to me about? Kisuke asked as he made himself comfortable on the sofa. Said woman fidgeted on the sofa slightly. How was she going to tell him again? Ah yes, improvise. Well, that didn't really seem to be working very well. Apprehension filled her gut. This wasn't exactly something that one discusses in a friendly conversation. Kisuke, I have something very important to tell you. After this, you most likely will be extremely upset with me, but please do not judge me too harshly. Kisuke's mind raced. What could she have done to make him, the man who practically worshipped her, judge her? She took a couple deep steadying breaths and looked at his face. Well, that certainly didn't help. His expression was that of concern for her. Just looking at his face was enough to send butterflies to her stomach. Abruptly, she stood up and started pacing around the large room. Sitting next to him was going to be a problem. Kisuke. He looked at her expectantly. Do you remember what happened 51 years ago? She asked hesitantly. His face fell. So that's what she wanted to talk about. But why? Why 51 years after the deed had been done was she confronting him about it? It wasn't like she had been taken advantage of or something. Slowly, he gave a nod of confirmation. She saw those damn bangs of his covering his stormy eyes. Her heart clenched. Of course he remembered what had happened. They were both active participants. She knew all too well that he thought she was going to tell him how much she regretted that night. Kisuke, look at me please. If you think that I called you here to tell you how much of a mistake that night was, then you are sorely mistaken. Yoruichi waited for a reaction from him. His head was still down, but his shoulders visibly lifted a couple inches or so. She let out a sigh of relief. You were the first man I was ever with, Kasuke. You still are the only man I've ever been with. To me, that's special. Kisuke's heart nearly leapt out of his chest. Storm met sunlight. The look in her eyes confirmed she wasn't lying. Yoruichi, Wait, Kasuke, let me finish. She cut him off. It was now or never, that do or die moment. I became pregnant. Yoruichi finished. Kasuke choked on his own spit. Out of all the things that his mind had conjured, that was definitely not one of them. Pregnant? With my child? He spluttered. Hi, was her short reply. She would wait for him to ask about what had happened to his child. Kasuke's world was in turmoil. So many emotions were running through him at lightning speed. He didn't know what to think. Yoruichi had gotten pregnant with his child. It was unbelievable. But then the child. He was silent for a very long time. This was huge news. No, this was beyond huge news. Finally he spoke. So you were pregnant, eh? And the child? His unasked question was all too clear to Yoruichi. Where is the kid now? This was the hardest part. This is where I asked you not to judge me. Yoruichi murmured loud enough for him to hear. His eyes widened. She hadn't, had she? I had to give him up. Not abort him, if that's what you're thinking. I had to abandon him. Her voice cracked as a solitary tear slid down her tan cheek. Kisuke's face contorted. His ryatsu flared around him in giant whirlpools. It wasn't enough to alert anyone, but it was enough to crack some of the mirrors in his room. Yoruichi knew better than to try to snap him out of it. Kakaka had said that he would vent his feelings, and this was part of his venting. His head was in his hands now. Turmoil wasn't the word to describe his emotions. A much stronger word was needed. So many feelings were welling up inside of him. Even though he was a genius, he wondered if it was possible to be feeling rage and overwhelming joy at the same time. He deserved to know about his son. What was his name? What was he like? Was he safe? Did he live nicely? Was he loved? All of those questions and no answers as of yet. And then there came the matter of Yoruichi. For 50 goddamning years she had kept their son a secret from him. He loved her so much, perhaps more than she deserved. Tears formed in his eyes. A shard of glass went flying past his face and embedded itself into the wall behind him. But Kisuke didn't notice. Hell, a meteor could have hit Soul Society, and he wouldn't have noticed. His name, tell me his name. He finally croaked out, lifting his face up to hers. Yoruichi felt like crying when she saw his angst-ridden face. But she had to be strong here. Naruto, his name is Naruto. Kisuke's pained face took on an incredulous expression. Fish cake? You named our son Fish Cake? What kind of a name was that? No. His name does not mean fish cake. His eyes, they're exactly like yours, that weird mix between gray and blue. The second I looked into his eyes, it was like I was looking at a storm. And at that moment I knew. That child would be the maelstrom that would change the world. She replied heatedly. She marveled at how right it had sounded when Kisuke had said our son. It was meant to be. Kisuke allowed his eyes to soften and a wry grin spread on his face. At least he knew that Yoruichi had loved their son before she gave him up. But that didn't excuse the fact that she had kept possibly the biggest detail of their lives hidden from him for 50 years. Even if they lived for an insane amount of time, it was too long for him. He needed answers now. Yoruichi watched as his eyes hardened and his body tensed. He abruptly stood up and walked towards her slowly, carelessly glancing at the cracked mirrors. He was now so close to her that she felt his hot breath on her face. But still she stood her ground, not letting his imposing figure frighten her. She refused to meet his gaze, for if she did, Yoruichi was certain all of her guards would fall, just as they had 51 years ago. Kisuke stared at the woman impassively. Roughly, he grabbed her shoulders and shook her until finally, her eyes met his once again. You will tell me everything, starting with where he is right now and if he's safe. He hissed harshly. He saw her swallow and took some grim satisfaction from the fact that it was now him who was making her nervous, and not the other way around. Kisuke had never been harsh with her, and it was very different for her. She sighed. Truthfully, she had expected for Kisuke to slap her or something. It was what she deserved, and worse. I promise. From now on, I won't tell you any more lies. He snorted. Like I'll really believe that. You told me that 300 years ago as well. Look how well that worked out. Do you want me to tell you about Naruto or not? She retorted. A blush had rose up in her cheeks. She couldn't deny the truth in Kisuke's words. He made his way back to his bed and flopped down on it. He sat up and patted the ample space next to me. She looked at him, surprised. It's you. I can never stay mad at you for long. You should know that. We're connected now, in more ways than one. Having a child together is the ultimate act. So just come here and tell me about him. He responded. After some afterthought, she made her way to the bed and sat next to him. Well, you should know that I gave him to Yoruichi and Jinta. An hour or so had passed and Kisuke learned everything there was to know about the boy named Naruto. Apparently, he was almost exactly like Kisuke down to his looks. Naruto was a very skilled and smart boy. So that meant that he had inherited the Urahara genes in the intellectual department. He had these whisker marks on his cheeks that instantly defined him. At first, he was incredibly surprised to find out that Jinta and Yoruichi were still alive. But then she explained to him about what had happened to them, and why they were in the human world. According to Yoruichi, Naruto knew about Ryatsu and other aspects of his existence, but he hadn't truly understood his own being yet. Jinta had promised that the second Naruto knew about everything, he would be trained properly. All that mattered to Kisuke was that Naruto was completely taken care of. Yoruichi had explained to him on why she couldn't claim Naruto. Kisuke understood the severity behind this and hadn't asked her too much about it. But soon, there would come a time when Naruto would come back to Soul Society and problems would surely arise. They had to be completely ready for that day. The two of them had settled their differences by now. It was really only Kisuke doing the settling though. He was really only mad at her because she had waited 50 years to tell him about this. They were laying down side by side in his bed. Yoruichi Kisuke murmured sleepily. It was late after all. Nanny Kisuke? She asked, turning over to face him. Where does this leave us? His tone was prodding and curious. His sudden question startled her. She propped herself up on her elbow to take a good look at his face. His infamous bangs covered his eyes like they did very so often. What do you mean by that? We're still us, she replied. He too adjusted himself to look at her. What I mean is that we had a child together. We were each other's first, and we haven't been with anyone else since. I think that's the definition of marriage right that. She looked at him with shock etched into her exotic features. Are you proposing marriage? Kisuke turned a wonderful crimson. He scratched his cheek with a goofy expression on his face. I'm not too sure. When Naruto comes home one day, doesn't he want a family with 2 parents and a stable home? Yoruichi thought about that for some time. We can give him that without marriage as well though. But I think I can see your point. We don't want him to think that he was a bastard or something. That's a rather harsh way to put it. Kisuke fidgeted on his bed. Marriage might be in our best interest though. Your people can't do anything to him if we're married, right? Yoruichi pondered this for a while. Perhaps that would be the eventual step, however at the moment there are a few members of my clan who would be opposed to this marriage in every way, shape, and form. I told this to Retsu so long ago. Should we get married, they would say that the blood of my clan is tainted with the blood of a lesser nobility. And how long ago did you tell her this? He inquired. 50 years back. Then think logically, in 50 years, a lot could have changed. I know for a fact that one more elder died about 20 years back or so. Be that as it may, the remaining elders have been pressuring me to get married, even going so far as to propose matches for me. He sucked in a breath. No! You can't, please don't accept these proposals. Naruto needs a stable home when he returns. If you get married you just can't, he exclaimed forcefully. Her demeanor softened slightly. She reached over to caress his stubble-laden cheek. I know, Kisuke. I've rejected every proposal that they've thrown at me. There is no alternative to a father. I'll never replace you. Ever. She turned over, away from him. Within seconds, her eyelids drooped as she fell into the best sleep she had had in a very long time. His breath hitched at the suggestion of what she was saying. He smiled softly at her now still figure. Yoruichi was asleep. It still amazed him at how she could just curl up and doze off at any moment. Kisuke dropped a kiss on her forehead. Just don't leave in the morning like you did last time, he whispered in her ear. And with that, he too fell into a deep slumber. Somewhere in his chambers, Yamamoto Genryosai paced back and forth. Urahara Kisuke and Shihoin Yoruichi. 51 years ago, he had sensed a very potent Ryatsu growing inside of the woman. He had lived long enough to realize whose child it was. Two of his strongest captains had created a child and then given that child away to the human world. He wouldn't punish them. Though loath to admit it, those two were very near his own level. Any child of theirs would be an absolute powerhouse. There was no doubt about that. Yamamoto had seen the opening of the Senkamen 50 years ago. He had deduced what had transpired and kept his mouth shut, eager to see how this would play out. Yamamoto had discreetly protected the area where the boy was living from hollows and such. The hollows would be attracted to the boy's Ryatsu and try to harm him. The boy, aptly named Naruto, was a very humble and kind boy. Though under that gentle demeanor, Yamamoto knew there lay dormant power. His Ryatsu was already so high that it could match any captain's. Urahara Shihoin Naruto. I wonder if you truly will become your namesake and shake our world to the core. 29 years later. 29 years had passed since Naruto had learned that he was a Shinigami and that he still had parents out there somewhere. If you actually think that he had let them off the hook for abandoning him, you, my friends, are quite mistaken. It's quite the opposite, in fact. Naruto had thrown a silent tantrum after his talk with Yururu and Jinta. It was silent though, so no one heard it. He didn't resent his parents, yet he was going to give them a piece of his mind when he saw them, especially his mother. 29 years had passed since Kasuke learned he had a son. He, too, had held a grudge against Yoruichi for not telling him about their son despite what he said earlier. In 29 years, much had changed. Naruto looked to be about 10 or 11 years old. His bangs had grown and they covered his eyes even more. If anyone from Soul Society were to see him, they would swear that a young Urahara Kasuke was roaming around the human world. Speaking of Kasuke, he hadn't changed at all. He was still the lazy, carefree, goofy captain of the 12th Division. The only real way he had changed is that he had adopted the mentality of a father, mainly towards Hiyori, who was not pleased about it in the least. He claimed it was practice for another blonde when he came home. Needless to say, Yoruichi found it most amusing. Hers and Kasuke's relationship had stayed the same as well. They both were sure of her feelings, however never would admit them to each other. The couple had also made a pact to marry before Naruto came home again. It would be done in secret, but it would assure Naruto's safety. She had taken Kasuke to the human world once or twice to see Naruto from afar. It had brought tears to his eyes to see the little man that he had helped create. They had only been there for 3 minutes, but it was more than enough for him. Kasuke even swore that Naruto had turned to the place where they had been hiding as if trying to see something that was not visible. But luckily for them, Yururu and Jinta had turned the boy away before he could go and investigate. Jinta had given them both a tip of his head as a sign of respect. Naruto still hadn't come up with the names of his parents yet, partially because Jinta and Yururu had refused to give him the names of all the captains. Naruto was certain that it would be obvious as to who they were when the second he saw them. He was training furiously with Heido and Bakudo spells. So far he could do the low-level spells without the incantation. He had mastered the higher-level ones, however he needed the incantation along with it. Along with spells, he was working on his hand-to-hand combat, or Hakuda. Apparently his mother had been an expert in that field. Today, Naruto was going into the village. He wanted to study the way humans use this thing called taijutsu. It was a skill that utilized hand-to-hand combat and different forms. It may be able to help him in his roadblock with combat. It would not have been the first time Naruto had gone into Konoha. He went there for the first time some 10 years ago to buy supplies when both Yururu and Jinta had contracted some weird illness. Naruto had found that humans and Shinigami were not all that different. The only defining factor between them was the power and aging differences. No human could have the power of a captain-class Shinigami. The only man to come close would probably have been this fabled Rikudo Sennin, who supposedly discovered the power known as chakra. Furthermore, the average human only lived for 65 years or so. A ninja's life expectancy was less than half of that. Naruto was older than 65 by about 14 years or so, and he still only looked 10. He didn't frequent the village too often, otherwise it might draw attention to himself. He knew for a fact that the leader of the village was getting a bit suspicious of Jinta and Yururu. The leader, called the Hokage, made it a point to find out who these mysterious people were, but the trio disguised themselves very well. Now it was Naruto doing most of the shopping. Naruto walked into the village with relative ease. Jinta had told him to do the grocery shopping because he had the nagging feeling that they would be stopped if they went to the village. The guards at the gate had stopped Naruto, but he had shown them his residential notifications indicating that he lived in Konoha territory. Yururu had asked him to bring some rice, beef, vegetables, oolong tea, smelling salts, bath soaps, and many other essential items for their living. A couple of ghosts in the village followed him as he went from store to store. But Naruto didn't mind. After all, you tend to get used to see-through spirits following you around after 73 years of life. One spirit was that of a young boy. He looked to be around 12-year-old boy. He had spiky brown hair and wore one of those weird metal plate things on his forehead. He was garbed in a gray turtleneck thing. The other man looked somewhat like the boy. He had long raven hair that was tied in a ponytail. He too was wearing a metal plate around his forehead. He wore a red vest/armor over a black undershirt. He looked very authoritative and commanding. If Naruto had to guess, the older man was some kind of leading figure in the village. It seemed that wherever he went, the ghosts instinctively knew that he would be able to see them, and they stuck to him like glue. Indeed, as he was buying some oolong tea, the older man leaned over his shoulder to see what he was buying. "Don't take that one, the taste is too bitter for the tastes of some. You should take the one next to it. It's less expensive, and much better tasting." Naruto nodded and quickly changed his order. He couldn't thank the ghost out loud because then he would look insane in front of the other people, and he did not want to draw more attention to himself. In an hour, he finished all of his shopping. His arms were laden with grocery bags, but it didn't bother him too much. Thanks to the torturous training that Urura had put him through, his physical strength had grown tremendously. Who knew that the generally timid woman was such a monster in physical strength? Her kick was powerful enough to shatter 5 boulders at once. He didn't know why Jinta harassed her so much when she could probably break every bone in his body with a flick of her fingers. Naruto decided to rest in a secluded grove for a bit. The 2 ghosts were still with him. They sat on boulders while Naruto sat in the shade between 2 trees. "So, mind telling me what you're doing here?" Naruto asked in his classic lazy drawl. The older man gave off a soft smile. "We think that you can help us." A surprised look briefly flitted across his face. "Oh, and how can I do that?" This time, it was the boy who spoke. "I only died last year. My grandfather has been dead for much longer than that. However, he has been looking for someone who could see him, and you are the first person to actually see him and talk to him. We think that you are the person who can help us cross over to the other side." Naruto contemplated this for a long time. He knew that it was actually the Shinigamis who did the soul burials for the souls to cross over to the other side. Actually, he was kind of worried. The older man's spirit had been wandering around for a long time without a burial. He could turn into a hollow soon. But Naruto didn't have his Zanpakuto yet, and he couldn't do the burial properly. "Listen, Ghost-san. Though I myself cannot help you, my brother and sister most certainly can. Follow me home so that they can properly send you to heaven." With that said, Naruto stood up and brushed the dust off of his clothing. He picked up his bags and indicated for the 2 spirits to follow him with a motion of his head. The 2 ghosts looked at each other with hopeful gazes and sprinted after the boy. Naruto's cottage was only about 10 to 15 minutes from the village. The walk was scenic, and Naruto had to marvel at the beauty of Konoha. One of the ghosts saw this. "It's beautiful, isn't it?" "Indeed it is, sir. One could get lost in nature here. I wouldn't mind spending my days simply watching the clouds all day long. It would make me incredibly lazy, though." The younger ghost chucked. "Grandfather, I think that he would make an excellent Nara." "I was thinking the same thing. Yes, if only his hair was black. We don't have many blondes around here. My granddaughter, this boy's sister, is blonde, and so was my daughter-in-law. The only other blondes are part of the Yamanaka clan." Naruto was listening to their conversation with interest. The layout of Konoha had fascinated him. Clans made up the noble class of Konoha, though the larger the clan the more importance it had. "Now can you tell me your names, please? I don't want to call you 2 Ghost-sans anymore." Both ghosts laughed at that. "Very well then, laddie, my name is Senju Hashirama. I am the first Hokage of Konoha, as well as the co-founder of Konoha." Ah, so Naruto was right. This guy was a leader. "My name's Senju Nawaki. His grandson." The brunette piped up. Naruto nodded to confirm that he had heard. "My name's Naruto, just Naruto." "Well then, just Naruto, care to tell me, why out of the myriad of people in my village, only you were able to see us?" Hashirama inquired. He was quite curious actually. Naruto pondered on this for a while. He was sure that some people in the village must have seen them, although chakra was the opposite of Ryatsu, so it was highly likely that the shinobi wouldn't have. How do I put this delicately? I believe the reason why I can see you is partially because I am not human." Their reaction was priceless. The duo stopped in their tracks to look at the boy in front of them, who in turn spun on his heel to stare at them with a most amused expression on his face. "What? Don't you believe me?" Naruto asked innocently. "Of course we don't believe you. You look exactly like us. How can you not be human, for crying out loud?" Nawaki shouted. Naruto chuckled at the boy's outburst. "Well, kid," Nawaki bristled at that. "I'm actually what you folk like to call Shinigami. And to tell you the truth, I'm even older than you are, Hashirama-san. The ex-shinobi's eyes widened. Shinigami, that's insane, Hashirama whispered. Is it really though? Naruto retorted. There are humans in this world. Where exactly do they go after they die? They go to my realm, Soul Society. It's where you'll be going soon too. Even though Naruto had lived all but 5 months in the human world, he still felt as though Soul Society was his true home. Nawaki still couldn't believe it. Hey! What do you mean you're older than grandfather? You look to be around my age. Kid, I meant it. I'm 79 years old. Now if your grandfather was still alive today, he would be older than me, but he looks to be around 55 or so when he died. So, I am older than him. Naruto replied to the still incredulous Nawaki. 79 Holy Kami. That's so cool. Wow, that kid sure catches on quickly. Yep, in fact, I saw the way this village changed. You did a really good job along with that other man in creating this place, Hashirama-san. Hashirama looked at the boy with unconcealed awe. Here was a real live Shinigami, absolutely amazing. Huh. Oh, thanks, I think. Naruto just laughed at the man's face. But his laughter soon stopped when he felt something. The ghost noticed his sudden change. Is everything alright, Naruto-kun? I'm not so sure, Sir. Naruto cringed. The bags in his hands seemed to grow heavier. There it was again, that same feeling, but stronger, much stronger. He had to get to the house, and quickly. To do so, he had to utilize Shunpa. Guys, do you think you can latch onto my back somehow? I'm going to get us to my home quickly. Hashirama and Nawaki shrugged and grabbed onto a part of Naruto's shirt. Surprisingly, they found that they could touch him. Hold on tight, Naruto yelled. And they found out why. Naruto was moving at breakneck speeds towards the direction of his house. Something's coming this way, I just don't know what, Naruto thought as he raced past trees and ducked under branches. Meanwhile, 50 miles from Konoha, Yururu and Jinta were not enjoying themselves. Hollows had been sighted all along this area, and they were slowly eating the soul of every spirit that they could find. Having no choice but to stop it, they had to fight against the hollows. So far, they were doing pretty well considering they were outnumbered. Yurura! To your right! Jinta cried out as he slashed away at another hollow. Thanks, Jinta! Shit! The hollow swung at her. Aminos. She thought. Aminos was a hollow that absorbed hundreds of more hollows. There were 3 levels to Aminos. First was Agilian, or Aminos Grande. They were the weakest type of Minos, yet they could prove troublesome for someone that was of lieutenant level. After that came Ajuchas. They weren't as large in number as the Gillians, but they were stronger and smarter. Finally, the last level was Vasto Lord. These were the rarest and strongest type of Minos. Their power was even higher than that of a captain. Hikari no Tate, Mikazuki. Shield of Light, Crescent Moon. Yururu's yell echoed in the empty sky. A large burst of light engulfed Yururu. Now this shield did not simply protect her, it was also an offensive attack as well. Anything that touched the light other than herself, and those she willed to protect, was disintegrated as soon as it came in contact with it. The Minos disappeared in thousands of Racier particles. Jinta was having some better luck than Yururu at the moment. He didn't rely too much on his Zanpakuto, which was called Kurayami. Darkness. However, now was probably the best time to use it. Jinta's Zanpakuto was meant for large-scale attacks rather than small ones. Yururu, move out of the way, I'm using it. Yururu instantly came to Jinta's side and pressed her back against his so she could fend off attacks from that side. Alright, my hollow friends, it's time to show you what exactly Hanakari Jinta is made out of. He drew his blade out of his sheath. It was black and large and shaped like a scythe. Nothing else. Shinshoku to Hakai, Kurayami. Encroach and destroy darkness, the redhead muttered. Instantly, the world turned pitch black for the hollows. There was no light anywhere. There was no escape. There was only a large abyss that was filled with darkness. Slowly, the darkness crept closer and closer to them, surrounding them. It was choking them. They couldn't move, they couldn't breathe, they couldn't do anything. It was maddening. Jinta smirked from the outside of his creation. At least 20 hollows were trapped inside of the darkness. He whispered one more word. Hahan, shatter. The darkness erupted into millions of pieces, and the hollows were gone. Jinta's smirk vanished though. He turned around to look at Yururu. She too had a frown on her face. They both looked at the sky. A large gash appeared in the blue surface. Fuck! The both of them yelled at the same time. They knew what was going to happen next. And true to their thoughts, at least 30 more hollows came out. The two of them gulped. They were strong, yes, but their stamina was running out. So far, they had killed about 30 hollow apiece, and there were so many more coming. And these hollows were not ordinary ones, they were all Jillians. Before, they would only encounter one or two, which was fine. But each Jillian was pretty strong as a lieutenant. There was no way they could take on all of them at once. One of the Jillians advanced on Yururu. But she was ready for it. Kagayaku, Mikazuki. The Minos Grande was blinded by the light of her Zanpakuto, but that didn't deter him from still coming closer and closer to her. She shunpoed back a couple meters. Jinta. What do we do? His answer was instantaneous. Use Heido and Bakudo. It's one of our only chances. She nodded. Yururu and Jinta were skilled Kido users, as they had once studied with Tezai, the Grand Kido Master. Heido no Yan, Byakurai. Way of Destruction number 4, White Lightning. A beam of lightning shot out of her hand and pierced the hollow right above the gaping hole in its chest. The hollow growled in pain as it collapsed. However, within seconds it recuperated. Damn it, Yururu! You can't use the lower levels against these guys. Let me do it! Heido no Rokujusen, Raikoho. Way of Destruction number 63, Thunder Roar Seer, literal translation not viz. This time, an orb of golden Ryatsu formed in Jinta's hand. He fired it directly at the Minos Grande with a great burst of spiritual energy. The Minos was killed instantaneously. And that, Jinta said while panting, is how you do it. Yururu shook her head in exasperation. That takes too much Ryatsu, Jinta, that's why we don't do it. But seriously, how the hell are we supposed to kill these hollows? Jinta sighed when more hollows convulsed on them. I'm not too sure, Yururu. But if we don't make it, then Naruto will be left alone. We have to fight for him, for us, and for our home. So draw your Zanpakuto, and we'll kill as many of these bitches as we can. He drew Kurayami in his hands once more. Okay, Yami-kun, don't fail me now. Let's go get him. He took a deep breath. This was the most he had fought since Naruto had come to them, and though he would never admit it, his body wasn't in the same shape it was when he was a Shinigami. Assuming he survived this, he would start training rigorously. Sanpu, Kurayami, scatter, darkness, Yururu, now. Hi. Momoku, Mikazuki. Blind crescent moon. The two opposing forces of darkness and light worked in harmony with each other. The light was meant to confuse the hollows while the darkness would eradicate them. Jinta and Yururu were the perfect tag team, and Kisuke had only brought out their potential even more. They were probably lieutenant level, or so by now. One shot, Jinta. We had one shot and we used it. Yururu told the red-headed man. The hollows were gone for now. I know, Yururu, we got those suckers good, didn't we? Jinta sat down in midair. He was exhausted from the battle. Killing so many hollows, Minos Grande to be exact, was a tiring prospect. He knew that the only chance that they had to kill all of them was to use their Zanpakutos together. He knew that they had to get out of there soon, because Siriidii would no doubt be alerted to the presence of so many hollows in the real world. Unbeknownst to them, though, one person was currently scrutinizing their very actions. Soul Society, undisclosed location. Aizen-sama! The Minos Grandes are gone. A person yelled, disturbing Aizen Sosuke's tea time. Said man was currently in front of a screen, and he had just seen everything that had transpired. So Yururu and Jinta were alive? This time he would make sure that they died. Aizen was a cruel man, who idly sent out hollows into the real world for his own personal pleasure. He was the vice-captain of the 5th Division under Hirako Shinji, yet he was building his own force of Shinigami and hollow alike so that he could destroy Soul Society and Siriidii forever. What do you propose we do, Aizen-san? A teasing voice asked from his side. Aizen turned to look at the owner of the voice. Ikemaru Jin, member of the 3rd Division under Kurosaki Isshin, had his feet propped up on the table, with a cup of tea in his left hand. That perpetual creepy grin adorned his face. HN? Let them be for now. In due time, they along with the entire Godai 13 will die. We will be the rulers of the universe, Jin. Remember that. Come, we must depart to Hueco Mundo very soon. Jin snorted. Aizen wouldn't let anyone but himself rule. Jin and Tozen were just his subordinates. They were expendable according to Aizen's ideology. He never truly cared for any of them, never has, never will. But he stood up anyway, and followed Aizen out of the room, cup of tea still in hand. Soul Society, Captain's Meeting Room. It seems as though the danger of the hollows has passed. Genryusai told the other captains, who sighed in relief. He, of course, knew all about Yururu and Jinta and obviously about Naruto. The amount of hollows in the real world astounded him profoundly, though. Before he could send out any forces, they had disappeared. It was very unnatural, like an outside force was controlling them. Yamamoto was slightly nervous that the hollows were so close to Naruto, yet he had faith that Yururu and Jinta would take care of it. He knew that real reason why they were presumed dead, and he would have helped Yoruichi hide them should she have asked him. Kurosaki Isshin eyed his supreme commander with wary eyes. He couldn't help but notice how interested the old man had become with matters concerning the real world. Now Isshin was a very talented Shinigami, one who was capable of identifying Ryatsu from very far away. And the Ryatsu that he thought he felt, well, the owners of it were supposed to be dead. He couldn't go to the real world because it would look very suspicious, but Ichigo surely could. So Taicho, if I may speak. Isshin looked up at the old man. Yamamoto's gaze was drawn to the captain of the 3rd Division. Nani, Kurosaki-san? Sir, if I may be so bold as to suggest that perhaps it would be prudent if someone, perhaps a lieutenant, goes into the real world to check if everything is all right. Isshin suggested. Yamamoto thought this over for some time. Your suggestion does come with merit, I suppose. Yes, that would be good. Your vice captain will be up to this job, right, Isshin? Isshin nodded. Yes, Ichigo will go. He does not need assistance for the most part. He will be fine. Kisuke and Yoruichi gave each other nervous looks that didn't go unnoticed by Yamamoto. That's right, the hollows were close to where their son lived. They had every right to be concerned. But Yamamoto secretly hoped that a hollow was still loose and he would be drawn to Naruto's Ryatsu. He wanted to see the boy in action. Now Yamamoto was not a cruel, devious person, yet he knew talent where he saw it. It was why he took Jishiro and Shinsui as his disciples. They had tremendous potential, as does Naruto. He wanted the future generation of Shinigami to be led by a strong person, and deep down, he had the gut feeling that Naruto would be it. Alright then, send the boy out immediately to scout the area for any potential lingering threats. Yamamoto ordered. Hi! Isshin vanished to let Ichigo know that he had an assignment to complete. The rest of you are dismissed as well, though Kasuke-san, Yoruichi-san, stay behind for a moment. There was a discrepancy in the report that you filed a week ago, Yamamoto said. Kisuke and Yoruichi looked at each other in confusion before shrugging. The captains disappeared fairly quickly. Retsu cast her friend a comforting glance before leaving. Yamamoto stared at 2 of his best captains before sighing. Listen, there was nothing wrong with the reports that you filed. I'm here to talk to you about a more personal matter. Apprehension grew upon the 2 best friends / almost lovers / parents. Excuse me, So Taicho, I'm afraid I do not understand. Kisuke told the wizened man cautiously. HN, are you sure that you don't? You're supposed to be a genius, boy. Use that knowledgeable brain of yours and think, was the captain's retort. Personal matters, hollows appearing close to Naruto, personal matters, Naruto. Kisuke breathed out. Crap, the commander knew about their son. Yoruichi gasped and then cursed herself for allowing such emotion to escape. She looked up to meet the impassive gaze of the creator of the Godai 13. I know about your son, Yoruichi-san, was all the old man said. I know all about Shihoin Urahara Naruto. The boy is quite impressive if I do say so myself. And before you speak, know this, I am not going to punish the both of you for anything. She let out a sigh of relief that quickly turned into something else. Kisuke's eyes hardened, though his bangs covered his eyes again. Then why tell us now, sir? For what purpose? Their commander had never spoken to them so personally, and there was an underlying motive here somewhere. Yamamoto chuckled. He heard the suspicion in Kisuke's voice. Why did everyone think that he was such a bad old man that he would take advantage of 2 parents trying to protect their son? It's rather simple. I want Naruto to live in Soul Society, where he truly belongs. I also want Yururu-chan and Jinta-chan to return as well. Yoruichi tensed. How had the old man known about those 2? It was supposed to be a secret that only a select few knew about. As if to answer her unasked question, the man spoke. 80 years ago, I sensed a Ryatsu, a very powerful Ryatsu growing deep inside of your womb. I figured out who the father was because the child's Ryatsu was the combined product of both of yours. 79 years ago, you opened the Senkamin along with Unohana Retsu and Shiba Kakaku to deliver your child to Jinta and Yururu. If I had wanted to punish you, Yoruichi, I would have done so already. However, your son's potential is enormous, and I really don't feel like punishing 2 of my most powerful captains. Kisuke frowned at the man's explanation. So you're saying that you want to use our son for Suritiai's benefit? Yamamoto sighed again. He was not a cruel man. No. I don't want to use your son, Kisuke. I want him to return home and be trained like a true Shinigami. I have a feeling about him, and I know that he's going to be something great one day. Listen, think what you want, but I'm trying to reunite a family here. Kisuke relaxed slightly. So our son, You want him to become a full-fledged Shinigami then? That's what I said, isn't it? Yamamoto stroked his beard. Yoruichi-san, Kisuke-san, I know that you are trying to protect your child from Soul Society, mainly the Shihoin clan. Had you asked me before, I would have helped you hide the boy, or I would have trained him myself. I knew both of your fathers very well, and I came to think of them as my own. It was your father's wish, Kisuke, that should anything happen to him, I would be the one to raise you. However, the Shihoin clan beat me to it. Now I hope that you two can understand why I want Naruto to come home. I need a kid to pamper. Yoruichi and Kisuke were rendered speechless by the old man's confession. His eyes, they were now open and they held no deceit in them whatsoever. He was telling the truth. He wanted to treat Naruto like a grandson or something. He wanted to train the boy. Was this the same man who had once threatened Kisuke with exile if he didn't stop those experiments? Life made no sense sometimes. Yamamoto Taicho, are you serious? Yoruichi had to make sure. Indeed I am, Yoruichi, indeed I am. Naruto needs this to come back. He needs his parents. He needs to learn the arts properly. And I'm sure that the two of you want your son as well. The two captains pondered his words. When do you need him to come back? Kisuke finally asked resignedly. Yoruichi sighed inwardly. There was no getting out of this. Yamamoto's lips curved upward in a smile. When he turns 100. They nodded. It still gave them 21 years to prepare for their son's arrival. Speaking of said son, the boy had reached his home. Nei-san! Ni-san! Where are you guys? He called frantically. Hashirama and Nawaki slid off of his back to observe their surroundings. They were in the outskirts of Konoha in a secluded area. Woods surrounded every part of the area. For the Mokuton user, it was like a dream come true. His house looked like something in a fairy tale. Konoha should have been settled here. The two ghosts envied the boy. Such peace, such quiet. Naruto was terrified. What was this feeling? He felt smothered, like he couldn't breathe. Didn't those two feel it as well? Was he the only one? Where were Yururu and Jinta when you needed them the most? All you two, stick close to me, Naruto commanded. The grandfather and grandson heard the seriousness in the Shingami's tone. They scooted closer to him and froze. They felt paralyzed in fear or in something else, they didn't know. Naruto saw their facial expressions. So you feel that as well? WH, what is that? Nawaki shook in his shinobi sandals. He had never felt this sensation before, not even when Tsunade went into one of her mad rages. He scampered behind Naruto and clung on to the smaller boy's shoulder like it was his lifeline. I'm not too sure myself, Nawaki-san. Naruto admitted, tensing. The pressure was getting closer and closer. It felt like it was only a mile away or so. Then Naruto understood. What he felt, it was spiritual energy, Ryatsu. Boom. Crash. Thud. Naruto and his two companions whirled around. Trees were destroyed, animals crushed. Naruto and his companions whirled around. Naruto saw it first. A large thing. It had a gaping hole in its chest. The thing, for there was no other way to describe it, had on a mask. It was like one of those masks that they would sell in a festival, but more feral. Its body was huge, taller than any building in Konoha. Naruto gulped. He knew what that was now. The two just gaped at the monster. They had never seen anything like it. To Hashirama, even the Kyuubi hadn't scared him more than this thing. Nanda Erwa? Nawaki yelled. It's a hollow. Naruto told the boy in his best calm voice. Hollow? The Senju clan had repeated. Hi, I don't have time to explain what they are in detail, but know this much, these vow beings prey on the soul of the dead and living alike. We are all in danger, the blonde stated grimly. Hashirama grimaced. He had always envisioned death to be peaceful, a white light or something. He certainly didn't expect to roam around the land he had created for decades then died being eaten by some monster thing. Nor did he expect to meet a real live Shinigami, ironic much, by the name of Fish Cake. Naruto had no idea on how to take on a hollow. Yururu and Jinta had told him that when they encountered a hollow, Tei would either use Kido or their swords. But Naruto did not have a Zanpakuto. He could only utilize Kido. It was the only chance that he had. You two, stay clear of here. I'll try to take this thing out, Naruto commanded. The two were more than happy to comply with the man/boy's demands. They scampered as far away as they could from the area. The hollow, sensing that his food had moved, tried to follow them, but was stopped by a large rock that was thrown at his head. Arg! The hollow grunted and turned to look at the insolent whelp who had thrown the rock. "Oi, fat ass! Yeah, that's right. It's me that you want. Not them. So come and get me," Naruto taunted. In his sight, that might not have been the smartest thing to do, but it worked because the hollow came right after Naruto. Bakudo no Ichi, Sai. Way of binding number 1, restrain. The hollow's arms were bound behind its back. The more it tried to move, the more frustrated it grew based on the crescendo of its growls. But Naruto's Bakudo was pretty strong. It held out well. Naruto quickly shunpoed behind the hollow and touched part of his mask. The hollow sung wildly about trying to dislodge the boy. Heido no Juichi, Suzuri Raiden. Way of destruction number 11, bound lightning, an electric current shot out of Naruto's palms and into the hollow. The effect was instantaneous. The hollow vanished in thousands of particles. Naruto descended to the ground, panting slightly. The ninjas came out of their hiding places with their mouths open. "That was bloody brilliant!" Nawaki shouted in Naruto's ear. Naruto blushed and rubbed the back of his head sheepishly. "Oh, that was nothing," he told them in a very Kisuke-esque manner. All of a sudden, the sky split. Out of the sky popped out a very large, very grotesque being. Naruto trembled. This thing's Ryatsu was so much more volatile than the other hollows had been. In 73 years, he had never once seen a hollow, so then why now of all times did two have to appear when his brother and sister weren't even around? Guys, I think you might want to hide again. We have a big problem," Naruto whispered. "If the ghosts could, they would have shit themselves right now." And Ajuchas had appeared. Kurosaki Ichigo was impulsive by nature, willing to help out anyone who he thought needed his help. He grew stronger for the sole reason of protecting his precious people. So one may ask the question of why he didn't come to the small boy's rescue as he was observing this. Oh yes, Ichigo saw how Naruto had taken down this hollow. He had sensed that a couple of strays were around somewhere, and was led to a spacious homey cottage in an area without population. Then he had seen a boy, who he had only seen from the back, talking to two ghosts, telling them to stay clear. He had only encountered a couple humans who could talk or see ghosts. His jaw had nearly touched the floor when he saw the boy performing Bakudo and Heido spells. His head had nearly split open when the boy had turned his way because the boy had an uncanny resemblance to his uncle Kasuke. And now the Ajuchas had appeared. The boy looked so frightened, however on closer inspection, one may find a golden glint in the boy's stormy eyes. He wasn't going to go down without a fight. And now this leads us to the question of a lifetime. What exactly will Kurosaki Ichigo do? Will he help the boy? Let him suffer? Let him suffer then help the boy? Help the boy then let him suffer? For now he would watch and see, then he would decide. The ninjas stared at the fish cake for some time from their hiding spot. It seemed as though him and the hollow were having a staring contest of some sort. But they could feel the power resonating off of the being. It was at least 100 times more potent than that other hollow. If one were to compare the two, the former would have been a small fly. Naruto's mind was in overdrive. He was truly his father's son and was calculating hundreds of battle plans in his head. All of them ended in him getting seriously injured or dead. His best scenario was to hold off until Jinta and Yoruichi came back. Before he could move though, the Ajuchas swiped a large hand at Naruto, causing him to crash into the multitude of trees behind him. Naruto stood up shakily. He felt a warm liquid descending down from his aching head. He looked up only to find that the hollow was going to strike again. Naruto's vision was blurry, and he couldn't see properly, yet he still managed to shunpa out of the way. "Kuso!" the blonde yelled. He had blood spurting out of a nasty gash on his forehead. "Kuso, Kuso!" He dodged more and more attack from the Minos. He couldn't possibly win with his limited repertoire of spells. Spells? He could do the high-level ones with the incantation. But how could he possibly have enough time to say all of it? The Minos was too fast for him, and he could easily kill him. Naruto had to distract the Ajuchas so that he could say the spell. The only question was how to do so. Bakudo, the way of binding. Today would be the real test of his prowess with Kido spells. Jinta and Yoruichi had one day found his immersed in a book of Kido spells that he had discovered in the house. He was fascinated by them. But they had taken the book away before he could fully memorize the upper-level ones. However, he had written down a few. Naruto took a deep breath. He felt the Ryatsu flowing through his body. It was visible to Ichigo, and it felt very familiar to the man as well. Naruto took another steadying breath. Bakudo no Ichi, Sai. That binding spell did nothing to the second level of Minos. It only restrained the thing slightly. Ichigo wondered if he was trying to do the same attack as he had against the weaker hollow again. But then he saw the smirk of the boy. No, that kid wasn't stupid. He was only testing the waters. So it's of no use, eh? Then how about this? Naruto raised his palm out to the hollow, then made it into a fist. Bakuto no Rokuju-san, Seijo Sabaku. Way of binding number 63, locking bondage stripes, a thick yellow covered the Ajuchas from the torso up, effectively disabling him. But Naruto knew that he could easily escape from that. He had to act fast. His stamina was drained and he had to act fast. Ichigo watched in wonder as the Kisuke clone readied himself. That Bakuto was a pretty powerful one, and by this time he had realized that the kid wasn't a human at all. No human knew the Shinigami arts, and those that did were dead. So where did the kid learn this from? Naruto pointed his middle and index fingers on his right hand at the hollow. Chiniku no Kamen, Bansho, Habataki, Hito no na o Kansu mano yo. Saka no Kei benai soren o Kazamu, Taika no Fuchi o enten nit matsu. Heido no Nanajusen, soren so katsui, ye lord. Mask of blood and flesh, all creation, flutter of wings, ye who bears the name of man. On the wall of blue flame, inscribe a twin lotus. In the abyss of conflagration, wait at the far heavens. Way of binding number 73, twin lotus blue fire crashed down. Blue spiritual energy shot out of his outstretched fingers and hit the Ajuchas right over the hole in its chest. The Ajuchas was unable to move because of the previous Bakuto spell and howled in pain. Ichigo watched the kid in awe. He had used 2 high-level Kido spells in configuration with each other. That was something that was difficult for many ordinary Shinigami. This kid didn't even have his Zanpakuto yet, and he was already this powerful. What exactly was he doing on Earth? He would ask questions later. The kid needed help. Naruto collapsed, panting hard on the ground. That wasn't an easy task and it had taken a lot out of him. The hollow thing looked to be severely injured, but Naruto didn't know if it was enough. The last thing he saw before falling into a deep fitful rest was an orange-haired man in billowing black robes slicing the Ajuchas in two. He also saw the 2 Senjus make their way over to him, their see-through faces concerned. Then all was black. Yururu and Jinta felt Naruto's Ryatsu from miles away. They also felt the Ryatsu of hollows. How had those escaped them? Shit, and was that the Ryatsu of a Shinigami? It took them a few more minutes to reach their home. The damage was considerable. By some miracle, no humans had come to investigate, and the house hadn't been destroyed as well. But Naruto was nowhere in sight. Naruto! Jinta yelled as loud as he could. Naruto! Yururu and Jinta ran into the house only to freeze in their tracks. There, in their living room sat Kurosaki Ichigo with an unconscious Naruto on his lap. Ichigo was staring at the 2 of them wide-eyed, like he couldn't believe it. Jinta-san, Yururu-san? Ichigo whispered. Jinta cursed inwardly. Of all of the people that he had to meet today, it had to be Ichigo, the boy who had trusted him more than anything. Ichigo-kun? Yururu asked tentatively. But you're supposed to be dead. Yoruichi-san said so herself. And so did Dad and Kasuchi-san. What the hell? The man shouted at his 2 elders. Naruto still wasn't awake. The Raven and the Redhead stared at their brother before looking Ichigo full in the face. Ichigo-kun, Yoruichi-sama faked our deaths. Jinta told the man bluntly. Ichigo gaped. Huh? But why? Yui where I mean. That story is for another time. But tell us this, why are you here? Yururu asked, her eyes still trained on Naruto's limp figure. Ichigo still couldn't believe that those 2 were still alive. It was absurd. Oh, well, apparently Dad wanted me to check out the hollows in the human world. I'm assuming it was you 2 who killed all of them in the first place. Dad wanted me to make sure that none of them were still around. But one was. And it attacked this little guy here. Then another this time and Ajuchas came out of the sky and went after him as well. Yururu and Jinta gasped. They had left Naruto all alone, so that he could fend for himself, when 2 hollows attacked. Hell, he didn't even know what hollows looked like. And were you watching the fight? Jinta demanded. Ichigo heard the tension in the older man's voice. Yes, I was. Before you criticize me for not helping him, you should know that he took out the first hollow fine. He had 2 spirits with him, and I'm guessing those, coupled with the kid's Ryatsu, attracted the hollow to him. He used a simple Bakuto to bind the hollow, then he used a Heido to destroy it. The second one it was an Ajuchas. Yururu paled. Jinta looked like he could murder someone. Ichigo looked down guiltily. It was true that if he had interfered, the kid wouldn't have been so banged up. What did Naruto do? Yururu came over and took the boy into her own lap, gently stroking his blood-soaked hair and face. Never before had Ichigo seen the woman so full of emotion. He used the same strategy that he defeated the weaker Hollow with, more Kido spells. But the spells that he used, boy, I don't know what you've been teaching him. He used Bakudo number 63 and then Heido number 73 all in quick succession. That's why he was so weak. It took a lot of ryats out of him by the looks of it. Plus he was thrown into trees, hence the injuries to his head. Jinta grabbed Ichigo by the front of his robe. You're a lieutenant, a damn strong one. Then why couldn't you have taken the Minos out by yourself? Ichigo frowned and pulled himself out of the older man's grip. Because I wanted to see what the kid would do. Okay. Clearly he's not human. I mean, any Shinigami can tell that he himself is a Shinigami. The kid knows this, and is damn talented with Kido. So before you get all worked up, you will tell me exactly who he is. His chocolate brown eyes flashed and Jinta let out a sigh. Yoruichi gently put her hand on Jinta's shoulder. It was a sign meant to restrain him from doing anything rash. She spoke softly from Ichigo's side. The boy is our younger brother, not by blood or anything, but a younger brother nonetheless. Clearly you haven't been told anything about him by Yoruichi-sama or Kasuke-san. But I'm sure you've noted the resemblance between the two. Ichigo nodded hesitantly, not sure if Yoruichi was going to say what he thought she was going to say. The boy's full name is Urahara Shihoin Naruto. Yoruichi finished quite dramatically, her voice an ethereal whisper. The orange-haired man was rendered speechless. Holy Mother of Kami. His surrogate uncle and aunt had produced a kid. A blonde-whiskered kid whose name was Fish Cake. Not that Ichigo could comment on names though. He was a strawberry after all. But still. I mean, it's not every day you learn that two people who are supposed to be dead are alive and live in the real world. And that those two same people fake their deaths and their surrogate and help them. And that the surrogate aunt and uncle had a kid. But how? Ichigo spluttered. Well, when two people love each other very much, the man puts his. No. I know how, but I mean when. He flushed a deep red. Jinta sighed. Yoruichi-sama came to us 79 years ago with this little bundle of joy. See, look, there's a Shihoin medallion around his neck. Ichigo did indeed see it now. She told us to look after him like we were his brother and sister. And we trained him, bit by bit, in our ways. He didn't actually know that he was a Shinigami until about 23 years ago, but still. He's a damn genius too, just like Kasuke-san. However, he doesn't know who his parents are yet. All he knows is that they're captains. He's a natural at Kido spells, just like Yoruichi-sama. In fact, we never taught him the Kidos that you mentioned, but I think he just picked them up from that book we have. Jinta finished. Wait, there's a book on Kido? Ichigo asked him incredulously. Yep, Tasai-san gave it to us as a gift. He's one of the few people who knows where we are. I don't think he knows about Naruto though, but then again, the less who know the better. Yoruichi answered him. She dropped a kiss on the boy's still form. Jinta, he should have woken up by now. This isn't exhaustion, is it? Ichigo studied the boy for some time, noting the obvious similarities between him and Kasuke. For some reason, Ichigo saw himself reflected in the boy as well. Then he grinned. If indeed that was true, then he knew what was wrong with the kid. Don't worry, Naruto will be fine. Just leave him alone for some time. Ichigo told the worried pair. What do you mean? Yoruichi asked the lieutenant. Let's just say that he's on his way to becoming a true Shinigami. Ichigo replied cryptically. The raven and the redhead understood immediately. They both had identical smiles on their faces. That time had finally come. Ichigo stood up. Well, I've overstayed my welcome here. If Naruto asks, just tell him I'm Ichigo Aniki. That will be fine. I've always wanted a little brother anyway. Oh, and also tell him that the two spirits have been given a proper soul burial. They should be in Rakangai by now. Yoruichi and Jinta nodded. Ichigo, we're sorry for everything. We should have told you, and it's just we used to be really close, Jinta told the man lamely. Ichigo waved him off. It's fine. We all thought that you were dead, and I'm sure that there was a good reason for why you had to fake your own deaths. It must have been hard, leaving everything. Heck, you two were lieutenant material the last I heard. And now, but hey, life happens. I really should get going. I stayed out too long for a simple recon mission, they might become suspicious. I'm sure that we'll meet again. I might even come visit sometime. Yoruichi gave Ichigo a sisterly hug. Just don't tell too many people about us. She whispered in his ear. He squeezed her in response. Johnny. Ichigo shunpoed out the room, before the two of them could react. Jinta shook his head. Man, he hasn't changed one bit. The two moved Naruto to his room and watched his chest rise and fall with every breath that he took. Even in sleep, his bangs covered his now closed eyes. Let him rest. He's gone through a lot today, Jinta softly said, kissing Yururu's temple. She blushed at the action. Even Jinta seemed surprised at what he had done. The two quietly made their way out of Naruto's room, leaving him in his own world. Naruto's mindscape. Naruto blearily opened his eyes. It felt like he had taken a ton of bricks and dropped them on his own head. He had a throbbing pain in his forehead. Where am I? He asked himself sleepily. This is your own mind. Naruto jolted to a standing position. That voice, it sounded exactly like his own. He looked around. What was this place? It didn't look like anything he had ever seen before. He was standing on an island, a very secluded island. It was barren, no one, nothing, not even a palm tree was on it. The sky, it looked like it was going to rain any second now. All he could see for miles and miles was water. But the water, it wasn't blue, it was golden. Golden water? He had a messed up mind. Your mind isn't messed up as you call it, this is simply your true self. Naruto jumped. This voice, his voice could hear his thoughts? Well, of course, I am you after all, your conscience to be exact. Okay, now that was just freaky. So his conscience was here, obviously, this was his own mind after all. But what was with the water, and this island? Subconsciously, you isolate yourself from everyone else, hence the island. And as to why the water is golden, well, because you are a pure soul. The water is the very reflection of your soul. Look into it, and you shall see. Naruto hesitated, but looked into the water just as the conscience had told him to. To his immense surprise, it wasn't his reflection in the mirror, but it was of someone else. The person staring back at him had reddish blonde hair. His face was angular, and very handsome. The odd part was, he still had 3 whisker marks on each cheek. His eyes were slitted, like that of a cat, and golden, like the water. Naruto stared at the man in awe. Indeed he was man, there was no boyish fat on the man's face. So you've come, the reflection said. It's only taken you 79 years. Naruto was not easily angered, but the reflection's voice sounded mocking, and it was something he didn't like. Hey! I only found out what I was 29 years ago, he retorted. Ha! Do you think that matters? I've been with you for your entire life, and that's the excuse you give? Come now, you must have felt it, ever since you were born, that you were different. Based on the humans that you saw as a kid, you never thought that you were the same as them. You've always imagined yourself to be different from them. Naruto pondered what the reflection had said. It was true. When he was younger, he was forbidden from going into the village, but he himself had no will to fraternize with the humans in the first place. Naruto hated crowds because he felt like he could never fit in. Who are you? He asked after some time. The reflection chuckled. You know my name, it's... Naruto blinked. He saw the man's mouth move, but no sound came out. Excuse me, could you repeat that? The reflection sighed, his shoulders slumping. I guess it's too early for that. But no worries, soon, we will meet each other for real. Naruto stared at the man in confusion. But the more he looked into those golden eyes, the more he was reminded of something or someone. You're me, aren't you? I mean, my powers, my soul, you're my Zanpakuto, he shouted in realization. The reflection's eyes widened. The kid sure caught on quickly. You bet I am. You can't hear my name yet because you aren't ready. Soon the time will come, Naruto. That's all I can say. However, I think that our time is up. You should be waking soon. Remember, should you ever need me, just close your eyes and envision this place. It is your mind after all. Naruto nodded and watched as his inner mind faded away. Slowly, he came back to the real world. My room, he thought. It was then that all the flashbacks hit him in one go. Him meeting the ghosts, him trying to protect them, him fighting the hollows, him crashing into trees, and him seeing that orange-haired man. He even remembered someone talking about him while someone was stroking his hair. It felt nice, real nice. Then there was someone telling Yururu and Jinta that Naruto could call him Ichigo and Ikki. But 2 names stuck out to him. Try as he might, he couldn't figure out why they seemed so familiar. Urahara Kisuke and Shihoin Yoruichi, who were they, and why did he feel as though he had known them forever? Suriide. Ichigo sighed as he exited the commander's office. So Yamamoto had known about all of this. He walked back to his family house slowly, occasionally acknowledging the people who recognized him in the street. The Kurosaki clan was not a large noble clan, but it had the same respect that the Urahara clan had once commanded. The 2 clans had a common ancestor somewhere. He trudged up to his father's quarters wearily. He wasn't exhausted, but the information he had received today was quite a bit to wrap his head around. Without knocking, he entered his father's room to see the captain of the 3rd Division sprawled on the bed, clutching a picture of his deceased wife close to his heart. Ichigo winced. Today was his mother's birthday. But she was dead, killed in an attack orchestrated by a Rouge Shinigami. Kurosaki Masaki had been an excellent lieutenant under Kairaku Shinsui. But all it had taken was one fatal blow to the jugular to end her life. Isshin had been absolutely devastated. Ichigo gently shook his father awake. Isshin jumped up, still holding the picture of Masaki. It took him a moment to become oriented with his surroundings. Isshin cursed his carelessness. His son had seen him when he really didn't want to be seen like this. He was about to reprimand Ichigo, but stopped at seeing the grim expression on his eldest son's face. "I'm assuming that the recon was fine?" Isshin asked tentatively. "That was fine, it was what I found that was strange." Ichigo lazily stretched out. He had to tell his family about Naruto and the others. Isshin's curiosity had been spiked. "Oh, and what exactly did you find?" "I'm going to go get Karen and Yuzu, then I'll tell you," Ichigo replied. He left without another word. Wouldn't Isshin be surprised to know that he had a kawaii little nephew running around the real world? Half an hour later, Kisuk's chambers. Kisuk was pacing around his room. No, it was more like Shunpei around his room, much to Yoruichi's displeasure. They needed to know if Naruto was safe from the hollow attacks. A knock on the door interrupted his pacing. He stared at the door like he didn't know it existed. Yoruichi frowned. "I'll get it." She walked up and pulled the oak door open. There in front of her stood a very irate Kurosaki Isshin along with his family. Kisuk came up beside her and scrutinized the angry expression on his friend's face. "Isshin Ichigo-kun, Yuzu-chan, Karen-chan nanny?" "Cut the crap, Kisuk. Now tell me why you didn't name me Naruto's godfather yet." 1 year later. Naruto had grown significantly in that year, just one short year. He had become slightly more outgoing, and actually showed his emotions. His 80th birthday was celebrated with a lot of shabang, or as much shabang as 3 people could muster. Urura had baked an 8-layer cake, signifying the 8 decades that he had been alive for. Jinta still commented on how he was a little chibi compared to their own majestic ages. Naruto had opted not to answer him, and retaliated by binding his brother with a keto spell through the entire cake-eating process. Naruto had taken the bites of his cake slowly, pausing to moan after each bite, and saying how he was in heaven while eating it. Jinta had a huge sweet tooth, and that cake was the reason he was so nice to Naruto during the week of his birthday. But Naruto, though he had some sadism running through his veins, was not that cruel a person who would not give a poor, dying man his cake. In the end, he unbound Jinta and gave him a large piece. Jinta was very satisfied. When Naruto had woken up after his fight with the Ajuchas, he had been thoroughly disoriented. He immediately told Jinta and Yururu about his Zanpakuto, and they said that it was normal that Naruto didn't hear the name of the sword yet. It just meant that he wasn't ready for him. He had also asked the two who the orange-haired man was that had saved him. Jinta had said that he was an old acquaintance from Soul Society, and that Naruto would know him as Ichigo Aniki. Naruto was quite taken by the orange-haired man because he had looked really cool with his black robes and that kick-ass sword. Those were Naruto's exact words. For 80 years old, he wasn't all that mature yet. But that was to be expected when Urahara Kisuk was your father. Speaking of Kisuk, he was in a shitload of trouble with Isshin when he had learned about Kisuk's son. I mean, think about it. How would you feel if your closest guy friend for 500 years hadn't told you about your self-proclaimed godson? I think that I would be pretty pissed. Isshin had thoroughly chewed both him and Yoruichi out. Flashback. 1 year ago, Shihoin Complex, Kisuk's quarters. Cut the crap, Kisuk. Now tell me why you haven't named me Naruto's godfather yet. Isshin's chocolate eyes blazed. He took much pleasure in seeing the faces of his childhood friends turn ashen. Oh yes, I know. You see, Ichigo here met the boy today, along with Yururu and Jinta. So now you will tell us the full story on how all of this, Isshin waved his hands wildly about, came to be. Do you understand? His voice had a hard edge to it. Kisuk grudgingly opened the door all the way to let the 4 Kurosakis into the room. Yoruichi was stunned at the coldness in Isshin and Ichigo's eyes. They all sat around the table, waiting for someone to speak. Well, Kisuk, Yoruichi, I think it's only prudent that you lot start first. Isshin growled at them. He was pissed. 80 years, for 80 years he had been deceived by his friends, from conception to now. The pair in question glanced at each other before Yoruichi spoke up. It was one night, just one night 80 years ago. It wasn't an accident, I might have never mind. She coughed slightly and inwardly grinned at the crimson visage of Ichigo. But I became pregnant after that. The only ones who knew were Shiba Kakaku and Unohana Retsu. Oh, and apparently Yamamoto knew as well, but he never told anyone. I really don't know why she was cut off by Yuzu. Wait, you mean that the Sotaicho knew about Naruto-chan and never said a word? Not even to you? The girl's voice was incredulous. Well, yes, truth be told, we only found out today that the old man knew about Naruto. He said that he wanted someone to spoil, Kasuke added nonchalantly. The four Kurosakis looked like their eyes would have popped out. You can't be serious. I mean, why would the man say that? Karen inputted her own 2 cents. We're not really sure, Yoruichi said hesitantly. She still didn't completely trust the commander, no matter what he said. Anyway, you were saying, Yoruichi-bachan, the only ones who knew about the pregnancy were Shiba-san and Anohana Taicho, Ichigo said with annoyance laced in with curiosity. Matt, if they were the only ones, plus the commander, does that mean that Kasuke didn't know either? Isshin shouted. Yoruichi looked down. Her golden eyes stared at the floor with regret. Kasuke just sighed and gave Isshin a rather light glare. Yes, my lovely lady here decided to tell me that I had a son on his 50th birthday, which was nearly 30 years ago. Was I pissed? Hell yes. Did I stay pissed? Not really. I've known about my son for 29 years. Surprise was evident in all of their eyes. Are you serious? Isshin asked. He couldn't believe that Yoruichi wouldn't have told Kasuke about his own son. Of course it's the truth, Kasuke said shortly. Though he had forgiven Yoruichi eventually, he was still quite sore about no knowing about Naruto for more than half of the boy's life. It wasn't fair to him. But why? Why keep it from Ji-san for so long? Ichigo asked, turning to Yoruichi to hear her answer. She looked up. This was the 3rd or 4th time she would have to repeat this story. Settle down, because it's a long story. Some time later. Isshin clenched his fists in anger. Yoruichi, would your clan really do that? Yoruichi wearily looked into the man's eyes. Yes, they would. Karen looked disgusted while Yuzu gasped in shock. Ichigo gave both of his surrogate aunt and uncle a calculating look. I can see why you did it, but you do realize that Naruto has no idea who his parents are. I'm sure Yurura and Jinta have told him about you too, but he doesn't know your names yet. How will he feel when he returns? Is he going to accept you too? Is he going to be mad? Will he even respect the both of you? So you say you've gone to the human world and seen him from afar. But has he ever seen you? He's a kid no matter his age. His mother left him when he was 5 months old. His father didn't know that he existed till recently. How in any way is that fair to him? I saw Naruto in action. He beat a low-level hollow and went up against the ninjutsus with just Kido spells. Those are his strong point. He used 2 Kido spells in the 60 to 70 range simultaneously. The only thing he lacks right now besides his Zanpakuto is battle training. Who's training him? Yururu and Jinta. Not his mom and dad. You know where he is, you know who he is, and yet you do nothing. You sit here in Soul Society waiting for your child to return instead of going to him. He has no way of reaching you guys, yet you can open the Senkamin and reach him. The more you wait to tell him who you are, the more he will resent you. I know that when I get the chance, I'm going to go visit Naruto myself. Why? Because as of today, I'm his Aniki. The both of you, if you expect Naruto to forgive you in a heartbeat, forget it. If you two were my parents, it would take a hell of a long time for me to reconcile with you. Ichigo finished his speech with a deep breath. I'm sorry if I sounded harsh, but it's better if it comes from me rather than from Naruto. The people in the room were astounded by the passion in Ichigo's voice. His eyes flashed dangerously, as if daring Yoruichi and Kasuke to refute his statements. But they didn't. No one could deny the truth in the man's speech. If Naruto was anything like his parents, then he would be one to hold a grudge for quite some time before letting go. If it was one Yoruichi was bad at, it was forgiving and forgetting. Kasuke was better at it, yet he too had a problem. No, Ichigo, you're absolutely right. Kasuke rose and placed a hand on the younger man's shoulder. Thanks for telling us this. There is one thing about your little speech that concerns me, however. Did you say that Naruto fought in a jutsus? Yoruichi stood up so fast that her chair clattered to the floor. She had completely missed that part. What? Ichigo braced himself for the blow that he might receive from Yoruichi. Hi, Naruto did fight in a jutsus. And you didn't help him? Yoruichi's voice dropped an octave. Ichigo gulped instinctively. No, I didn't. I needed to see what he could do. He was an enigma, a Shinigami on Earth. I wasn't going to let him die, but I was gauging his skill level. Ichigo's voice wavered when he saw her eyes glint dangerously. However, to his immense surprise, she nodded in understanding. Kisuk too seemed to accept the man's explanation. You said that what he lacked was battle experience. I'm not going to lie and say that it was good that you didn't help him, but now we know what he needs to work on. Ichigo, we know that we have done our son wrong. We know that we don't deserve to be his parents. We know that we haven't shown him anything that a parent would, but we can't help but hope. Yoruichi left him a medallion around his neck, the Shihoin emblem. I know that he wears it, I'm sure you saw it too. He doesn't know who we are, yet he holds parts of us close to his heart. When he returns, we will accept whatever he decides to do, whether he acknowledges us or not. Kisuk told the Kurosaki family. Ichigo looked perplexed. Explain to me why you can't just go down to the human world the next time we have a mission and tell Naruto who you are to him? Postponing this will only delay the inevitable. Yoruichi let out a small chuckle. You know, Retsu told me the same thing when I decided to tell Kisuk about Naruto. Why is it that everyone else gives us such good advice and we never take it? The question was meant to be rhetorical, but Karen answered it anyway. It's because the two of you always think you know exactly what you are doing and then something goes wrong. She deadpanned. Kisuk pouted. Karen-chan, that's so mean. You wound me. Karen scoffed. Kisuchi, you're a liar. But I'm curious, tell us more about Naruto, and Jinta and Yururu. Yoruichi thought for a moment before responding. Well, he's 79 years old, born on October 10th, he weighed 6 pounds and 6 ounces when he was born. He was 21 inches long, and oh! He has these adorable whisker marks on his cheeks. Whisker marks? Yuzu asked incredulously. Yep, you know how I can turn into a cat, yes? She asked. Everyone nodded. Well, I think it's because of that. I mean, what else could it be? Does that mean that the kid acts like a cat too? Ishin questioned. No, not from what we know, otherwise it would have been most interesting, Kisuk mused. You guys still haven't answered my question. Ichigo put in rather impatiently. The pair sighed. I don't know, we're scared? I know that it's lame, but it's true. I mean, take everything that you said about Naruto and reverse it. Will he accept us? Will he love us? Will he forgive us? The two of us might have this facade of sheer confidence, but we're both cowards. Me more so than Kisuk. I mean, I didn't even tell him that I was pregnant for Kami's sake. I'm a coward, and I'll admit that. Then what do you plan on doing about it? Ishin asked them. Although these two were his best friends, he couldn't help but be angry at them for not having the balls to claim Naruto. Stormy eyes met chocolate ones. We'll trust our son, that's what we'll do. We'll give him all the guidance that we can from the sidelines, and then he'll make his choice. Ishin looked at Kisuk for a moment before shaking his head. Listen to yourself, Kisuk. This isn't the Urahara Kisuk that I know. This is taking the coward's way out. You're talking about a child here, a child that the both of you have never held a proper conversation with. A child who's been raised by two shinigamis who are not his parents. A child who doesn't know his parents' names yet. And why? Because Yoruichi here was too stubborn to let the kid know. His own mother abandoned him, and refused to tell the kid her name. Now that's cruel, that's too cruel for any child to deal with. Kisuk's breath caught in his throat. Yoruichi grabbed his hand and looked him full in the face. He could see so many emotions in her golden eyes. Fear, embarrassment, sadness, guilt, and so on. Ishin placed a hand on both of their shoulders. I'm sorry that I said this, but based off of what Ichigo told us before about the kid, he's like you, Kisuk, he bottles up his emotions. I don't know how he'll react to you guys. Just tell Naruto for Kami's sake. It'll make things so much easier. They nodded slowly. Ichigo's mind was whirling at all the potential that Naruto carried. He had made his choice. He would train Naruto so that the kid would be able to master his Zanpakuto. In 21 years, the kid was going to return home. He needed to be prepared. Ichigo didn't give a flying fart on what Kisuk and Yoruichi said. He knew his aunt and uncle too well. They weren't going to tell Naruto whose child he was. No, Ichigo would tell his self-proclaimed Oturo himself. The only problem was going into the real world. Present time, Kanehigakure with Naruto. It was that time of month again. The time that Jinta and Naruto hated. It was shopping time. Naruto didn't understand why Jinta disliked it so much. He never went with Naruto anyway. Naruto thought that it was maybe because his brother would have to spend so much time with his sister. Every time Naruto would return from his trips into the village, Jinta always sported a slight limp and claimed he was very sore. It had only been going on for a couple months, but Naruto was concerned for his brother's well-being. Yurura had a positively predatory look in her eyes whenever Naruto would go out. He wondered what kind of training they were doing for Jinta to be so exhausted. These were some of Naruto's thoughts as he walked around the village. Konoha was enjoyable to him. He particularly was intrigued by their taijutsu. Over the years, Naruto had watched a boy in an extremely disturbing green spandex suit practice a style that the green-clad boy called Goken. The style was pure genius, Naruto thought. He loved hiding in the trees and watching the boy train whenever he went into the village. Though the boy was eccentric, he was damn good at taijutsu. But now he wasn't a boy anymore. Naruto learned that when the shinobi received their headbands, they became adults in the ninja world. That meant that the kid had been an adult since he was 7, which he had just turned 4 months ago. The kid also had a rivalry with a strange and stoic masked boy with silver hair that stuck up in all directions. The boy declared the Scarecrow-like boy his eternal rival. The Scarecrow avoided the green blob as much as he could. Naruto couldn't help but feel sorry for the Scarecrow. He wouldn't want to be the green shinobi's eternal rival either. The Scarecrow was someone Naruto took a particular interest in, because of who his sensei was. Naruto remembered it like it was yesterday when he had met the energetic fellow blonde known as Namikaze Minato. Flashback, 19 years ago Konohagakure. Naruto was nervous, very nervous. You see, it would be the boy's first time entering the village. Yururu and Jinta had fallen ill, and Naruto was the only one who was healthy to go into the village. He only looked to be about 7 or 8, so the guards wouldn't question him too much. Naruto gulped as he took in the massive gates to the village. Naruto completely hid his Ryatsu to make him invisible to the humans. This was one of the first Shinigami abilities that he had learned, and he didn't know that he was a Shinigami then. Luckily for Naruto, the gates were open, and he slipped right into the village without arousing suspicion. Naruto gaped at the size of the village. It was huge. There was a big dome-shaped building smack dab in the center of the village. It was green. It looked like an important place. Naruto dropped the invisibility in an alley and mingled with the crowd. He fit right in. He looked ordinary, and that was fine with him. It wasn't like he wanted to get noticed anyway. Naruto hated crowds, he liked isolation. So he wasn't particularly enjoying his experience in the village so far. Sighing, the Shinigami took a deep breath and went to the first stall he could find that held medicine. "Excuse me, madam," he began in his most polite voice. The lady at the counter took one look at him and squealed. "Oh my Kami! You must be the cutest thing in the world. What can I do for you, pet?" Her voice made him shudder. It was so high-pitched. Naruto cringed as the woman flashed him a grin. He looked up and was taken aback at her appearance. She was a civilian, but she had startling green eyes and pink hair. Pink. How could one's hair turn that color? It took Naruto a couple seconds to regain his voice. "Oh, I'm looking for some medicine. You see, my brother and sister are very ill, and I need something to cure them." The woman jumped off of the stool she was on and guided him to the area that was filled with various types of medicine. "Okay, pet, what symptoms do your brother and sister exhibit?" the pink-haired woman asked the blonde. He cringed when she had called him pet. It was so grandmotherly. Now she didn't expect him to know what symptoms or exhibit meant, and was very surprised by his answer. "Well, both my siblings have a very high fever and are constantly coughing and sneezing. This leads me to believe that they either have a virus of some sort, or a bacteria has invaded their bodies and their bodies are fighting it off right now. The color of their phlegm is green, not clear, so they clearly are very sick right now. Their senses are out of whack. Both of them can't really taste or smell anything. But then again, I've heard that it's common when one gets a virus or something." The pink-haired lady was shocked at the boy's extremely intelligent response. In fact, another person was listening intently to their conversation as well. The person leaned against the counter and eyed the blonde with an appraising eye. "You ever think of being a doctor, kid? Konoha needs medneens anyway." Naruto and the pink lady turned to look at the person who asked the question. A blonde lady with very big assets had an amused look on her face as she awaited Naruto's response. The lady had blonde hair, maybe a shade darker than Naruto's own. She wore a green vest over a black long-sleeved shirt and matching pants. A headband was wrapped around her forehead. Her chocolate eyes stared into Naruto's stormy ones. To his horror, Naruto found that he was blushing. No ma'am. I'm just a civilian, you see. I could never be a shinobi," Naruto stammered. Even if the woman was younger than him, he was physically and mentally an 8-year-old. The pink-haired lady took in the woman's appearance with an almost jealous eye. But then she seemed to realize who the woman was and hastily bowed to her before turning back to Naruto. "Hey kid, I don't really think you need me with her around. She can tell you anything about medicine." And with that, the lady sauntered back to the counter. Naruto just shrugged and turned back to the lady who seemed to be in her late teens or early 20s. "So, do you have a recommendation for any good remedies?" Naruto asked tentatively. The blonde woman chuckled and pointed out to a bottle. "Here, it's peppermint oil. Rub it on your brother and sister, and their fever will come down. She plucked another bottle and put it in Naruto's hands. This is lemongrass extract. It's soothing for the throat and nose. Make tea, and put a drop of it in their cups. Within a day, their cough and cold will be gone. Naruto was entranced. When he got sick, which was rare, his siblings forced foul-tasting liquid down his throat that made him gag. This was so much better. Wow! Thanks, Ba-chan! The woman's eye twitched. She had to remind herself that the kid in front of her was a civilian and not a ninja. He was also younger than her by 10 years or so. Gaki, I'm only 21, don't call me Ba-chan. It's Tsunade, my name is Tsunade. Hi, Tsunade Ba-chan. Naruto added slyly as he dodged her enraged figure and quickly bought the items that the woman had suggested. His vision of the village had changed. He was kind of enjoying it here. After some time, Naruto had many bags in his arms that consisted of things ranging from cough drops to Yururu's feminine products. He wasn't happy when he had bought those. He even had to endure the odd gazes of the women in that store. What was it every day that a child bought those products for his sister? No? Oh well, in his defense, Naruto wasn't a child per se. But he doubted that the ladies would believe him. Naruto grunted as he shifted the weight of the bags. They were heavy. He needed to sit down and rest for a few minutes. The blonde looked around and found the perfect place. It was a stall that looked very cozy. The sign on top read Ichiraku ramen. Ramen, eh? He had had it a couple times, but it was ridiculously bad for you. Naruto supposed he could splurge today. He walked into the stall and put his bags next to him. It was a quaint little place, something cozy that felt very appealing. A man came out from the back. He was wearing a white apron over a chef's outfit. Hello? My name is Ichiraku Tuchi. Welcome to my ramen stall. What would you like? Well, at least he's enthusiastic. Naruto thought. He scanned the menu. I'll have a chicken ramen, please. Coming right up. Tuchi prepared the ramen right in front of him. Within a few moments, a steaming bowl of ramen was placed before him. Naruto, to his surprise, felt his mouth watering. The aroma was delicious. Tuchi smiled as he saw the content on the boy's face. Naruto eagerly broke apart his chopsticks and dipped it into the steaming noodles and broth. Itadekamasu. Grabbing some noodles and chicken, he popped it into his mouth. A moan erupted from him. Oh God! This was too good. Once he started, he couldn't stop. It was just heavenly. It only took moments for him to devour his bowl. Before he could even ask for more, a larger bowl of miso ramen was in front of him. Naruto simply dipped his chopsticks in it once more and ate at a nearly sickening pace, not even pausing to say thank you. Tuchi watched the blonde kid eat his ramen ferociously. He smirked slyly. Once someone ate his ramen, they would never eat anywhere else. 7 bowls later, Naruto was satisfied. He let out a childlike belch and gave Tuchi a very large grin. Naruto's eyes shone in delight. That was the best food that he had eaten in a very long time. It was terrible for you, but it just tasted so good. He was sad to go away from the stall, but his family did need him badly. He put the right amount of cash on the counter and made to leave. But he stopped and reached into one of his bags to pull something else out. It was a flower. Saying his goodbyes and thank yous, he exited the stall. Tuchi grinned as he saw how much money he had. He hoped the boy would come back and eat like this all the time. He never would go out of business if the kid came. He saw the flower lying of the counter. Ayame? That's a real nice flower right there. Ayame means iris. Thanks, kid. I never got his name. Naruto had every intention of leaving Konoha right away, believe me he did. But he just couldn't. It seemed like Kami-sama hated him or something. Right after he had left Ichiraku's, a blonde boy had tackled him to the ground. It appeared as if the blonde was being chased by a fiery redhead. All of his bags split open, and the contents were splayed everywhere. The redhead and the blonde had paused in their romp and stopped to see what had happened. The redhead, whose name was Kushina, had quickly blamed the mess on the blonde, and then left to get more bags for Naruto. The blonde, named Minato, had apologized over and over again and helped Naruto pick up his things. Kushina had come over quickly with the bags, and helped put the contents back into the bag and left, but not before giving Minato the finger and running off. Now Naruto was stuck with a blonde kid of about 5 years old trailing behind him, making sure that the older blonde wouldn't be too mad at him. Are you sure you're not mad? Minato asked in a tearful tone. Naruto clenched his teeth. If the kid kept asking him, he might get a little angry. I'm sure, kid. Go home now. I can't. I have to make sure you're not mad. Minato shook his head adamantly. By now, the two had arrived at a deserted training ground that no shinobi frequented. Naruto whirled around and his eyes flashed golden for a second. Minato cowered under the older boy's frightening glare. Listen, kid, I forgave you the first 10 times you asked me. So please, just leave me alone. Naruto was generally a very composed person, but the little kid was pushing his buttons a bit too far. But Naruto instantly regretted it when he saw the kid was nearly in tears. Minato wiped away the tears that were threatening to fall. I won't cry, I won't cry, I won't cry. He repeated it over and over again in his head. Naruto felt guilt bubble up through him. Gently, he set down his bags and went over to Minato. Minato recoiled when Naruto touched his shoulder, like he was afraid to get hit. Naruto bent down till he was eye level with the 5-year-old. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to be so harsh with you, Naruto said in a reassuring tone. Minato sniffled a few times and looked at Naruto with his big blue eyes. Naruto noted the similarities between his face and Minato's. Naruto could have been mistaken as Minato's older brother or something. It's okay. I shouldn't have been so annoying, Minato said, blowing his nose on his sleeve. Naruto grimaced and gave the boy a tissue that he accepted graciously. He knew that he would be stuck with the boy for some more time. It was best to make good of this situation. Naruto sat down on the grass and motioned for Minato to do the same. So, where are your parents? Naruto asked. Minato's eyes became shadowed by his bangs. They died when I was 2 in a shinobi fight. I live in the orphanage now, the boy sadly told the other blonde. Naruto sighed and patted the boy on the head. I'm sorry. I don't know my parents either. Minato looked at Naruto with wide eyes. Really? So do you live in an orphanage too? Naruto laughed at Minato's expression. Nope, I live outside of Konoha with my brother and sister. My parents are alive, it's kind of complicated. Minato nodded sagely. I see. That's how I would describe my relationship with Kushina. It's complicated. I'm guessing this Kushina is the girl that was chasing you around? Uh-huh. She only came to the village a couple months ago, and she lives in the Senju compound. Naruto had no idea what that meant but didn't interrupt the boy. Apparently she's related to them. Kushina, I think she hates me. But when I see her, I feel lightheaded. I think it's because she punches me so much, it affects my mind or something. Naruto could barely keep his laughter in check. Oh god, that was rich. The 5-year-old was in love, and he didn't even know it. Oh yeah, that's probably it. Naruto agreed with the younger blonde. Minato couldn't catch the amusement in Naruto's voice. What's your name? Naruto asked Minato all of a sudden. Minato scrambled to his feet quickly and gave Naruto a traditional bow. Namikaze Minato. In the same fashion, Naruto rose to his feet and bowed back. Naruto. My name's Naruto. I like your name. It means maelstrom, Minato said wisely. Naruto was really starting to like the kid. Usually when people heard his name, they thought it meant fish cake. It figures that children would understand the true meaning of it. I like your name too, Minato. Namikaze, that's like wave and wind together. It makes me think of an ocean on a windy day. And Minato means port. Your name has everything to do with the sea. Minato's electric blue eyes lit up. Did you know that Kushina's last name is Uzumaki? That means whirlpool. We're connected or something, Minato exclaimed. Naruto's sweat dropped. Did the kid realize that everything he said related back to this Kushina? A match made in heaven, as one might call it. Really? So do you like this girl or something? Minato just gaped at Naruto. Do I like her? She's so scary. His voice dropped an octave. I think she wants to kill me, Minato confessed. But you know something? For some reason I really like it when she hits me. Naruto stifled the laughter that was threatening to spill out. Oh? He choked out. Good luck with her. For some more time, Minato and Naruto talked about random things like the sky, clouds, and ramen. The two blondes had bonded over the fact that they loved Ichiraku ramen. Naruto promised Minato that the next time he was in the village, he would treat Minato to all the ramen he wanted. Needless to say, Minato was eagerly awaiting Naruto's next trip. It was around 5:07 that Minato remembered he needed to be in the orphanage before 5:10, otherwise the owners would make the kids go without dinner. There was no way that he could run all the way back to the place in 3 minutes. Naruto! What am I going to do? Minato wailed. Naruto pondered it for a moment before picking Minato up. Naruto may have looked to be around 9, but he was strong enough to pick the small boy up. Grab onto me and close your eyes. Don't worry, I'll get you there on time. I promise. Minato nodded and closed his eyes, latching onto Naruto's shirt. Taking a deep breath, Naruto vanished in a great burst of speed. He had seen where the orphanage was while he had entered the village and knew exactly where to go. Open your eyes, Minato, Naruto gently said. Minato did so and stared at Naruto in wonder. He was at the orphanage. And it wasn't time to go in yet. Naruto, how did you do that? Minato asked him in an awe-filled voice. Naruto chuckled at the kid's admiration for him. Do you promise not to tell anyone? He asked in a serious voice. Minato stood up straight and saluted Naruto. I promise. Alright then. I got you here so quick like this. Faster than Minato could see, Naruto was behind him, and then in front of him again. It's called Shunpa, Naruto explained. Whoa! That was so cool! Minato squealed. It's not odd for a 5-year-old to squeal. But you can't tell anyone, okay? Of course not! Minato yelled. It was 5:09. He had 1 minute to walk through that door. I've decided something, Naruto. I'm going to be an amazing shinobi and come up with a technique that's even faster than the Shunpa. Minato declared, pumping his fist in the air. Naruto grinned and ruffled the kid's hair. I'm sure you will, Minato, and I'll be watching you. Remember that. Before Minato could even respond, Naruto had vanished. Naruto chuckled at the memories that he was reliving. He knew Minato had accomplished that. Minato had invented his famous Hiraishin no Jutsu, and it was on par with Shunpa, if not faster. From what Naruto had heard, the Third Shinobi War had finished, and Minato was the hero of the war. He had also heard how Minato's jutsu had saved Konoha. Kushina had also made quite a big impact as well. She was nicknamed the Red Hot Habanero. She was always the angry one. Naruto was proud that he had helped shape such an amazing shinobi. As he passed Ichiraku Ramen, he saw Tochi holding a small baby. He had been to Ichiraku's a couple times when he was in Konoha, each time spending a very good amount of money. Naruto decided to go over to Ramen's stall and ask him who the baby was. Hopefully, Tochi wouldn't recognize him. Yo, I was just passing by and saw the baby. May I ask what her name is? Naruto inquired politely. Tochi gave Naruto a quizzical look. Do I know you? No, but perhaps you would know my uncle. He said that he used to come here quite often whenever he entered the village. Naruto lied smoothly. Tochi's face lit up in recognition. Ah yes, that blonde boy used to come here and eat nearly 10 bowls each time. Where is he now? Naruto kept a straight face throughout his little fib. My uncle died some years ago in an accident involving some IWA ninjas. Tochi gasped slightly and looked at the boy in sympathy. He held the baby out in his arms for Naruto to see. Her name is Ayam. Actually, I believe I named her because your uncle gave me a flower the first time he ate here. It was an iris. And ever since then, the name Ayam just stuck. So I promised myself, if I have a daughter, her name would be Ayam. Naruto remembered giving the iris to Tochi and was struck on how one act of kindness would resonate so much in a person's mind. He stroked the gurgling baby's hair and watched as she leaned into his touch. What's your name, by the way? I never learned your uncle's name, so I might start with yours. Tochi asked him suddenly. Naruto, my name's Naruto, sir. Well, Naruto, I think I may have just the thing for you. Sit down and hold Ayam. I'll be right back. Tochi gently placed the baby into Naruto's arms and went to go get something from the storage room. Naruto let Ayam play with his fingers. She sucked on them with her gums. Naruto tickled Ayam's tummy, making an odd sound to come out of her. It wasn't laughter, but it was more like a pleasured gurgle. Tochi came back to see his daughter pulling on the blonde's hair very hard. But the blonde didn't seem to mind. He just encouraged the girl to keep going. Tochi leaned against his counter and smiled at the familial sight he saw. The way I see things, you might just take Ayam away from me. Tochi chortled. Naruto looked up with an amused smile on his face. I might just do that. So, what is it that you wanted to give me? Tochi raised a bag in his hand. Here, Naruto's for Naruto. Naruto looked into the bag and saw a heap of tiny white fish cakes. He saw the grin on Tochi's face and sweat dropped. Why did everyone have to make fun of his name? Sighing, he accepted the bag and gave Ayam back to Tochi. Yes, I know I have a funny name. I curse my mother every time someone insinuates that it means fish cake. He spit out the last word in amusing distaste. The elder Ichiraku guffawed at the young man's dislike of his name. I'm sure your mother named you Maelstrom and not fish cake. Let's hope. Naruto mumbled. Anyway, I should be going. My brother and sister want me to shop for supplies. Thanks, Tucci-san. I'll come back soon to try some of your delicious ramen. Come back soon. Tucci waved to the blonde boy. As soon as Naruto was out of the stall, he dropped his hand and frowned slightly. Naruto, I know that you're the same boy who came into my store for the first time 19 years ago. It's impossible for you to have that big of a resemblance to this uncle of yours. I didn't even tell you my name and you knew it. Whoever you are, whatever you are, I thank you. My daughter's name comes from you. I just wished you would tell me the secret to your eternal youth. I'm only 38, and I already have wrinkles. Naruto whistled a nameless tune as he walked down the road with his bag of fish cakes. Some people looked at him a little oddly, but continued on their way. Naruto made his way to the market. He took out a list from his pocket. He looked over everything that he needed. Yururu and Jinta's list of supplies. Fish, salmon, and trout. 2 pounds of broccoli, spinach, lettuce, tomatoes, cabbage, and carrots. Herbs and spices, you know which ones. Rice 10 pounds. Oolong tea, the kind we like. Beef, get the less expensive stuff. Do not get chicken. Peppermint oil and lemongrass extract, 2 bottles of each. Green tea leaves. Anything else you want, not ramen. Stay as long as you need to, just come home for dinner. Geez, his siblings were such nags sometimes. He walked over to the nearest vendor and showed her the list. He rubbed his head in embarrassment when she gave his an odd look. I'm sorry. Could you just tell me where I can find all of this? She directed him to all places he needed to go. Naruto was always a very efficient shopper. He didn't dawdle like Jinta and Yururu. All of his supplies were bought in less than half an hour. He was quite happy at the moment. He had some time to leisurely enjoy the surroundings of Konoha without anyone to bother him. He would just drop off the supplies at home and roam around. Naruto screwed his eyes in concentration and let his Ryatsu out. His Shinigami form was much less of a hassle than his human one. To the civilians walking along the street, they did double takes, trying to find the blonde who had seemingly vanished in thin air. In the end, they thought that he was a very young shinobi shopping on his days off. Naruto snickered when he saw the confused looks on people's faces. Oh, the joys of being invisible to normal humans was great. A couple people did look his way, but they just ignored him and went on with their business. Naruto compressed his Ryatsu and let it out in a great burst of speed, taking off in the direction of his house. He loved Junpei. He loved feeling the great rush of adrenaline that coursed through his body as he raced onwards, feeling the wind through his hair and the ground under his feet. He saw his cottage come in sight. Not even bothering to go inside, he simply left the bags of groceries at the front step and shunpoed to his favorite place, the pond that was about 100 meters from his house. Whenever he had spare time, he would come to this pond. The crystal clear water was beautiful, and made Naruto marvel at the beauty of his surroundings. He had been coming here more often because it also reminded him of his mindscape, which he had discovered the year prior. His Zanpakuto's name was still unknown to him, however slowly, he felt that he was getting close to unraveling it. Jinta had told him that he had learned his Zanpakuto's name through meditation. Naruto didn't have to do that. According to his Zanpakuto, the name would come to Naruto when he was ready. To make sure that they were thoroughly acquainted, the man with the reddish blonde hair and the slitted golden eyes made it a point to influence Naruto's dreams every so often. They weren't so bad all the time. His Zanpakuto usually put him in situations where he had to think to get out of. Like, slowly sinking in a pit of quicksand, how can he possibly get out? Or being trapped in the jaws of a man-eating shark, or being chased by 7 million fangirls. He didn't know what fangirls were, but he shuddered thinking about the girls who chased after him in those kinds of dreams. His Zanpakuto had a very twisted sense of humor. But they were decent dreams. In each dream, he had to come up with a strategy to get out of his situation. For example, in the fangirl dream, he would use a Bakuto strong enough to bind them all. Or he would use a Hado to obliterate them, either one worked well. Naruto liked his Zanpakuto very much. It was like him in a way, lazy and less provoked. Yururu had said that some Zanpakuto and their wielders didn't get along, but Naruto wasn't concerned about that. His Zanpakuto was him, and if he couldn't get along with himself, then there was a serious problem. Because their thoughts seemed to coincide too well, Naruto and the sword got along swimmingly. In addition to his Zanpakuto, he adored his mindscape as well. It had evolved slightly. The normally stormy sky had taken on a lighter shade somewhat. The sky was dependent on his emotions. The more angry or annoyed he was feeling, the darker it got. The happier he was, the more the storm clouds seemed to vanish. However, he had never seen even a ray of sunshine. When he asked his sword about this, his sword had replied that this was his true self. The sky would never become sunny because of who he was. Naruto was snapped out of his musings by a small squirrel landing on his head and scampering off. Seriously? Did the animals not realize that he was right there? Shaking his head, he stared into the rich blue water, watching some koi fish jump in and out of it. A grin appeared on his face. Nature fascinated Naruto to no extent. If there was a god, he or she truly was a genius for creating such a beautiful landscape. He was extremely happy that Yururu and Jinta had decided to settle here. Slowly, he drifted off to sleep under the sakura tree that he adored. Although the petals did remind him of those pink-haired banshees that he did see walking around Konoha fawning all over Minato, the sakura tree was his symbol of peace. And he enjoyed that peace. His eyelids drooped, and he entered the blissful island that was his mind. Hello Naruto, welcome back. It's been quite some time since you last entered here. His conscience gently drifted down towards him. His conscience wasn't a person, it didn't have a gender, yet Naruto could feel it, sense it. It was like a companion. It's been 3 days, you know. That's not all that long. Naruto told it. Ah yes. But in 3 days so much could have happened. A tsunami could have torn this place apart. Naruto surveyed the area. Same stormy sky, same isolated island, and same golden water. Nothing seemed out of place. And did it? No. Then everything's alright. Are you sure about that? His conscience suddenly asked in a serious tone. What do you mean? Naruto questioned back, slightly concerned. Take a closer look. Is everything truly alright? Puzzled, the blonde looked into the water only to see his own reflection. Blinking a couple times, he tried to find where his spirit had went. Never had he seen his own image in the water. It was always the sword that was there. Naruto tried to take a closer look when he saw something. A glint of golden/red caught his eye above him. Was that hair? No, Naruto looked closer. It wasn't hair. It looked like a piece of clothing, a cape or something. Looking up, he saw the amused face of his Zanpakuto staring down on him while sitting on one of the storm clouds high above him. Naruto gaped at the figure in shock. Never once had the sentient sword ever come out of the water. What had changed? You changed, Naruto, and that's why this place changed. Why you? I mean, we can talk face to face now. The blonde asked incredulously. The Zanpakuto hopped off the cloud and landed gracefully in front of Naruto. Well, we talked face to face in the water, didn't we? The only thing you could see of me was my face after all. Naruto frowned at the man in front of him. So does this mean anything? The man's deep voice turned slightly annoyed as he put on his lecture tone, as Naruto liked to call it. Everything happens for a reason here. So yes. This means that you're evolving. You've grown as a person in the last year that we've met. Those dreams that you've been having, well, they've been like pre-training for the real thing. If it's one thing you lack, it's battle experience. You have the basic skills down, but you have no way of utilizing it. Naruto grinned in understanding. So you're going to train me in my mind, eh? Exactly. The sword concurred. Your growth has proved to us that you are ready to develop your sword and finally learn my name. Though these two things must be done on your own, I will be here to give you guidance as well. Naruto accepted this. He was glad that finally the time would come for him to become a true Shinigami. So how will this training proceed? Little by little, in your mind, I will begin to train you in the way of the sword. You are decent in hand-to-hand combat, so you and I will spar. Mind you, this training is not easy, and actually somewhat reminiscent of Bankai training. Yet once this is over, I promise you that the results will be better than you could have hoped for. The Zanpakuto smirked slightly sadistically, revealing his pointy canines. Naruto gulped at the man's tone. He was quite an intimidating figure. Now that he was out of the water, Naruto could see that his Zanpakuto was garbed in royal-looking red and gold robes. His hair, which was the same color, was cropped short, much like Naruto's own hair. The man's bangs fell out over his eyes. He wore black boots with a black belt wrapped around his waist. If Naruto didn't know who he was, he would swear that he was royalty or something. When do we start? Naruto asked apprehensively. Tonight. Be ready for some intense training, my wielder, for I am going to make mincemeat out of your pathetic blonde body. With that said, the man dissolved into nothingness. Naruto looked around, trying to find his blade, but to no avail. It seemed as though the man had become one with the sky, judging by the reddish hue it had taken on. Great, he was going to start training with a sadistic bastard. Hell was going to shit on itself when his blade started training him. Now Naruto, it's not nice to call people names, you know. came the ever-present voice of his conscience. Naruto scowled at the invisible presence. Ah, shut up. You're telling yourself to shut up. I believe that you are in need of a psychological examination. Naruto's sweat dropped at the irony of that statement. I'm just going to wake up now. Do what you want. We'll see you tonight. Naruto frowned and slowly came back to his senses. Opening his eyes, he found that the sky in the real world had turned nearly the same color as the sky in his mind. Had he been talking to himself for that long? Sighing, he stood up and took the short walk back to his house. As he neared it, he smelled the delicious aroma of beef stew coming towards him. His stomach grumbled loudly. It was then that he was reminded that he had not eaten lunch. In a great burst of speed, he flew into the house and stopped right near the kitchen. Tadaima! He yelled, sprinting into the room. The first thing he saw was Yoruichi giving him an exasperated look. Jinta was leaning against the wall, watching the woman cook. His eyes snapped to Naruto, and an amused grin filled his face. Where have you been, kiddo? The red-haired man asked, ruffling the blonde's hair. Naruto scowled and ducked before his brother could mess up his hair any further. I was conversing with my elusive sword spirit. This tweaked the two elder Shinigami's interests. Oh really, and? Yoruichi asked, turning around from the sword. He's going to start training me from tonight onwards when I'm sleeping, Naruto replied, setting the table. Naruto set one more plate down. We have a guest coming tonight, Jinta said. The blonde looked up from whatever he was doing, quite surprised. Seriously? We've never had a guest over and you invite this person over now? What's wrong, Naruto? Aren't you happy to see me? A voice behind Naruto said. It was a very familiar voice, one that he hadn't heard for a long time. Naruto stared wide-eyed at his brother and sister, waiting for confirmation that their guest was who he thought it was. They simply nodded, grinning at Naruto's starstruck expression. The blonde boy slowly turned around to see a man he hadn't seen in a year. It was the same man who had saved him from death. The orange-haired Shinigami with the kick-ass sword who Naruto knew as Ichigo Iniki had his arms crossed over his chest, looking down at Naruto with a twinkle in his eye. A smile adorned his face. Ichigo Iniki? Naruto asked tentatively. Ichigo simply came up to Naruto and ruffled his hair affectionately. It's been a while, hasn't it, Naruto? Naruto didn't speak, he simply stared at him. BBU, but you're here? With us? He stammered. Ichigo sat down in a vacant chair. Yoruichi ladled some stew into his bowl and he thanked her graciously. Yeah. It turns out that the Sotaishu, Yamamoto Jiji, has taken a liking to you, Naruto, and he wants me to come here every so often to make sure that you're okay and that your training is going well. The orange-haired man said conversationally. Itadekamasu. He muttered before taking a bite of his steaming hot stew. By now, everyone had sat down and was eating. However, Yoruichi and Jinta gaped at the younger man. Are you serious? Jinta asked incredulously. The Sotaishu knows about Naruto? But that means that he knows about us too. Ichigo took another bite of his stew and set his spoon down. He does. He told me the entire story. Truth be told, the man's not as bad as he portrays himself to be. He offered to train Naruto when you guys come back, which will be in 20 years. Why the hell didn't anyone bother to mention that fact to us? Jinta roared. That's kind of why I'm here, right? The old man said that I should inform the three of you of his decision. Ichigo deadpanned. Naruto, I'm assuming you know who Yamamoto is? Naruto, who was confused up until now, nodded. Yeah, he's the captain of the 1st Division, and supreme commander of the Godai 13. He's also the creator of it, and the oldest Shinigami. Correct. Ichigo affirmed in a pleased voice. Do you know anything about the other captains? Naruto shook his head. Besides the man named Zaraki Kenpachi, not really. I mean, I know some of them. Like Unohana Retsu is captain of the 4th Division, which is in charge of medicine. And there's another blonde guy named Hirako Shinji who's the captain of the 5th Division. At first I thought that he was my dad because of the blonde hair and all, but then when Nei-chan and Nai-chan told me about his personality, it was impossible. That man couldn't possibly be my father. Oh, and of course there's the fact that my parents are captains themselves. He added the last part rather bitterly. Ichigo gave the boy a sympathetic look. Look, Naruto, I know both of your parents very well. And let me tell you, they're acting like complete idiots when it comes to you. It's been 80 years and you don't know your own parents' names. I mean, they know everything about you, yet all you know is that the two of them are captains. It's not fair to you. My dad, Kuro